going at the same time, and they're all just battling the brackets out, and we'll kind of unify all of them once we find out who qualifies into the bracket, the round of 8, essentially. And looks like Hordes is going to open up with an aggressive Royal Giant.
I don't like the aggressive Royal Giant. I mean, pretty much anything kills a Royal Giant. It doesn't defend itself, doesn't kill anything.
Yeah.
So when you just play a Royal Giant without any support troops or any like extra elixir, I feel like you're just opening yourself up for a big trade.
Yep, and now Hornsey is having to defend against Ice Wizard Royal Giant with a good zap, and he was trying to wait patiently because Minion Horde against Ice Wizard is not really a great matchup.
He was waiting for Ice Wizard to attack the tower, but the Ice Wizard got caught up behind the Royal Giant, didn't attack the tower, and when he played the Minion Horde, just a zap and an Ice Wizard to clear him right out. And that's a great example of the difference between playing a Royal Giant naked and playing it with support. I mean, it was a 1,300 damage difference between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hornsey will be kicking himself for that. But he's going to play an Elixir Collector and move on. There's always
he arrows the princess. Seems like a good value, but he looks like he's thinking about it. Oh, now he is. He's going to play it as late as possible.
Maybe waiting to see if he can catch anything else that's strong.
I mean, even just an arrows on the Ice Wizard's a little bit of damage that can help out. Work out.
Oh, God.
So we have a full elixir. We have the full amount, but it's locked onto the Ice Wizard, which is slowing it down. The Mini P.E.K.K.A is going to clear it out.
Okay, Barbarians is a great response.
I mean, they're great against the Mini P.E.K.K.A, but the Mini P.E.K.K.A, they're great against the Royal Giant. The Mini P.E.K.K.A would have cleared them up if it wasn't for that batch of skeletons.
It was it for the meddling kids.
Princess is going to kill those Barbarians, though, pretty efficiently.
Yeah, it's tagged onto the Royal Giant, and the Barbarians get held down in that spot. Nice arrows. Gets one extra shot.
The Mini P.E.K.K.A.
Yep.
Which is always valuable with the Mini P.E.K.K.A. He's gonna. You know, actually, I don't like that. That's a really inefficient use of fire. I mean, I understand that it's maybe better than taking damage on your tower.
It might just be extending his loss. Maybe the risk was, okay, I'll let this tower fall, but use my elixir advantage to then try to push your tower down.
I mean, if you look, Raintown has a big elixir advantage.
But all of this, I think, is a culmination of Hornsey's choice to play the Naked Royal Giant at the start, because that put him behind, and now he's getting further and further behind. And it's really just because he had an 884 health tower that he felt compelled to fireball that Mini P.E.K.K.A because he just didn't want to lose any more health. And that mental kind of pressure, once you're down in tower health, is really what makes it.
I didn't even like that elixir collector that Hornsey played because there was only 50 seconds left in the game. He's already down. Like, I understand it could be like a wall blocker, but what happened is he spent 5 elixir on the elixir collector. Raintown got the princess down, and then he had to spend 5 elixir on a minion horde to counter the princess. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of in quicksand and doesn't seem to be recovering. With only 10 seconds left, looks like Raintown's going to take this game.
And this is something that we talk about pretty much every Super Magical Cup, is that this idea, especially while your tower health is high, this idea of spending tower health to regain footing in the game. When you're behind, just take the damage. Don't try to continuously play inefficient cards and try to save your tower health. It's not really worth kind of throwing away elixir over and over and over again just to have your pushes continuously be knocked down.
Yeah, I agree. Like, there's even times where if you're winning 1-0, but your other tower has like 200 health on it, you almost can't defend it, right? You're almost better off just starting to make a push for that second tower than trying to spend all your elixir inefficiently to defend a tower that you probably weren't going to be able to defend in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's find our next game here. Let's find. Ooh, okay.
All right. Oh, this is actually really interesting. So, Fly Society. We can go to the match preview here. Fly Society is another regular at the Super Magical Cup. He's actually currently sitting in 6th place at our leaderboard. What's interesting about Fly Society is that he is a hardcore Siege player. If there was ever somebody who will not walk onto your side of the field, it's Fly Society. So can you talk a little bit about Fly Society's performance in the first 2 Super Magical Cups?
So Fly Society, I mean, he basically was butting heads against Woody, right? That was just basically... So the first Super Magical Cup was very, very heavy on Siege players, and that was kind of the meta of the time.
Mortar,
right?
Yeah, Mortar was the most popular deck.
Mortar was kind of the meta, and it was kind of a battle between either Fly Society or Woody, you know, and they were battling out. Woody ended up taking the upper hand in that matchup, but Fly Society, you know, stuck to his guns, and even the Super Magical Cups after that, I feel like he still continued to play Siege, just not really. I think he really liked to play Rocket Cycle.
I mean, this is a Rocket Cycle deck, right? We're looking at 3 spells, 2 defensive towers. This deck is so crazy because all it's going to do is rocket and fireball you to death. It's pretty wild.
That's the key difference, right? Woody was always kind of a mortar player. Like he liked to play the mortar as his main source of damage. Fly Society is throwing his hands in the air and saying, I'm just gonna do spells.
So I really like PS Sereno's deck, though, to match up against a Rocket Cycle deck. Rocket Cycle struggles with units that can't just be fireballed or rocketed at the tower efficiently. Like, you can rocket a Valkyrie in a tower, and that's really good, but you really can't do that to a Golem. So I really expect the Golem to be able to put a lot of pressure on Fly Society's side of the board. Barbarians are really good as well. Princess obviously provides long-range stuff that you have to deal with. I think it's a pretty good matchup against the Rocket Cycle deck. It'll just be interesting to see sort of if the Rocket Cycle deck can take advantage and get the tempo. Just basically keep putting the pressure on and deflect the attacks.
All right, let's take a look at what happens when we go in-game. PS Reno.
Kind of notable that Bomb Tower is played back in this deck. Bomb Tower was very popular when it had a 60-second lifespan because you could just put it out there and have it sit there forever. Since it's gone down to 40 seconds, I haven't seen much of Bomb Tower at all, but it seems like Fly Society still sees a lot of value in it.
And the thing with Bomb Tower, too, is especially when Royal Giant has become so popular, everybody has just opted to kind of replace the Bomb Tower with the Inferno Tower, and even though they didn't really fulfill the same kind of duties, the fact that the Royal Giant was such a great threat that meant that it was still worth it to bring that Inferno Tower.
Perfect opportunity to rocket that Elixir Collector, and Fly Society just didn't have rocket in his hand at the time, and now he may not want to cast it because it's not as good of a value as it would have been right at the moment. That it was
might be waiting for PS Reno to see if he decides to place a unit next to that. Oh my god, he's going to rocket that 100%.
Are you sure though? He's only got 4 Elixir, 5. I mean, the rocket takes a while to fire. He might want to save that for the Inferno Tower that he's going to need.
Let's see if he does. Nope, he's going to...
Interesting trade. Okay, so Fly Society's going to sit on the Elixir to deflect the Golem using the Inferno Tower, and I assume the Archer's Knight. That's what card.
Yep. There's the Inferno.
Playing it back. Interesting he played it a little early. I mean, it's probably fine enough time. I'd be worried if the opponent had something.
And this is probably the play for PS Reno. Nice. I actually really like that. The way... I can talk about that a little bit later, but the way PS Reno arranged his unit placement was fantastic for that push. But the defensive structures for Fly Society...
I was going to say, I thought Fly Society actually placed it great because his Inferno Tower, in the swarm of all those units, the Inferno Tower locked onto the Golem first, which is exactly what you want. You don't want it shooting Spear Goblins or Barbarians.
The thing that I really liked about how PS Reno did that is he utilized kind of the Spear Goblins and the Goblins to push the Barbarians to the right, and so they actually went straight for the tower, and if not for the Bomb Tower that Fly Society had, those Barbarians would have surrounded the right side tower of Fly Society and done a huge amount of damage.
Yeah, there's no doubt that that Bomb Tower did a lot of work on that last push. What's interesting is, if you've noticed, there hasn't really been a lot of direct damage spells coming out of Fly Society, just defense. This is pretty standard because the Rocket Cycle deck takes a huge advantage of the extra 2 minutes of overtime. With 3 minutes of overtime of double Elixir, that's when a majority of the rockets start flying because the towers last the same amount of their lifespan, but you're gaining twice as much Elixir during that lifespan, which allows you to throw these extra rockets out.
Likewise, for PS Reno...
Wasting Elixir, though, Fly Society killing me.
His Golem deck... Oh, man, here we go.
What a value. Takes out an Elixir Collector, hits... I mean, doesn't do much to the Golem, but does hit it.
Yeah, and really the big goal for Fly Society is looking for excuses to spend Elixir on that tower. And Golem, Elixir Collector, plus the tower health is the perfect excuse.
He knows that he has to save Fireball for the minion horde, or Zap perhaps, so he's zapping a little bit of stuff. But yeah, it seems like the best value that Fly Society is going to be able to get for his rockets is when the Golem walks by the tower.
And I actually feel like in this situation, I almost think that the Princess is going to be the highest value card for PS Reno, because otherwise these units, the Golem, the Hog Rider, the Barbarians, the Spear Goblins, they're all going to be running around hitting the towers, right? And the Princess, placing the Princess in a smart way, either going for a split push, putting the Princess on the left side.
I mean, Fly Society's already won, right? It's just it's Rocket, Fireball, Zap, I think, finishes it off. If not, it's very close to that.
Yeah, and PS Reno really, I feel like one of the things is he needs to think about how to get damage onto the tower. I mean, he's clearing out the defensive structures, like the Bomb Tower and the Inferno Tower, but he's really not getting any health onto the Crown Towers.
Interesting note, Fly Society held on his direct damage spells to see how much damage they actually do. You can do that, you can hold for a long time on the spells. See, it looks like we're finally getting the first thing kind of over there, but once again, just not enough.
Here we go.
Fly Society's defense was incredible this game. It looks like it's only one more rocket away from winning, so it's just place a few more defensive towers. Unless the Archer just does it on her own! The single Archer is able to chip in the damage. As you can see, Rocket Cycle, an incredibly powerful tournament deck, and he would have won that in normal overtime. It was only the first minute of overtime. He didn't even need the tournament length to pull that off.
Yeah, and one of the big things to think about when you're playing against defensive structures is really, it's kind of, they will people will place their structures to lead the golem in a certain path, right? Once a building is placed, you can't actually place another building on top of it until it's gone, right? So you're gonna want to play, say, your Inferno Tower in the middle, and then your Bomb Tower to the side a little bit. And depending on which side you put it on, if you start a split push on the other side, then you're starting to open up your opponent, right? And that's, I think, the risk that people need to start taking against these defensive towers.
Honestly,
Even something as little as the Princess on the left side, to make sure that it just locks on against two volleys.
There's been a big surge at the top of the ladder of lightning, a big resurgence of lightning, because the Hog Valkyrie Musketeer deck has become so popular. 3 Musketeers are popular. Royal Giant with some backup is popular. That lightning has come back in a big way, and lightning is great against rocket cycle decks. I mean, every time he sets up those Inferno Towers and Bomb Towers, you can just immediately, for 6 elixir, take out both of them and do quite a bit of damage to the tower.
All right. Let's go ahead and find the next match that we will spectate.
So keep going. Trying to find. Oh, looks like we're almost getting caught up to live games. Yeah, we can watch any of these now. I was trying to see if there's another one after.
All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look here.
Interesting. Another Sparky deck.
I really that's one of the things I really want Rumham. I just want to see Sparky, and I want to see it do damage.
I can kind of see where Alex OP is going with this deck. He has Dark Prince and Valkyrie as sort of redundant cards. Like they're tanky AoE attackers that ride in front of the Sparky, clearing up the sort of junky units that you would put in front to clear the path for a good Sparky shot on your tower. I like the double spells for the same reason. You can fire the spells preemptively to kill anything, especially minion hordes and stuff that get above them.
Yeah. You know, actually...
Against the classic triple threat Hog Rider deck.
Yep.
It's the exact same deck.
Yep. And actually, when I'm thinking about Sparky, when I saw Woody's Sparky deck, I actually was pretty... You know, I felt like it made a lot of sense. If you play Sparky in the back and wait for it to get near your bridge and then play Border Cannon or Border Inferno Tower, then all of a sudden, what do you play? You know, like anything you play, cheap cards, Sparky's just going to get rid of, and then the Border targets onto the tower.
Yeah.
You play a healthy unit, Sparky shoots it, and then the mortar starts ticking away, and then you waste a lot of elixir into that push, and then the mortar is still alive, right? The Sparky is still charging.
I think that deck might still be in progress because we looked at some of Woody's other games in the match preview, and I didn't see. Oh my God! What? Because I was like, why is he playing those cards into the Sparky? He's gonna get killed. But as we see, like Freeze Valkyrie is just unbelievable.
And look at the Hog Rider attack,
and it
straight onto the tower.
Look, I mean, how many times did that Valkyrie attack even after the freeze had worn off? Because the Sparky has to take another 5 seconds.
But the Sparky is still alive. It's still got
gonna take it all out.
Locked and loaded. Oh! Okay.
Yep.
There we
go.
go.
That. The old fireball cannon trick.
Yeah, that was a nice freeze.
So Alex OP did take some damage early on, but he managed to get an Elixir Collector down.
Yep. And he would have
a push. He knows what deck he's going against now.
Yeah.
And if you're cognizant of the cards your opponent's playing, it's very clear this is sort of the triple threat Hog Rider deck at this point.
Yep.
Triple threat.
Very strong. Yep. Just anything that makes it to the tower, you freeze and you're good. Sparky in the front. Valkyrie to assist. He
looks like he's going to throw another freeze. He's got the skeletons and freeze. Oh! The skeletons take the shot. I think he's going to use freeze for the next one.
Yep.
Perfect timing. So even though that fireball did hit and weakened those 2 units, there's nothing to follow up on it on, so they just get to free kill the Sparky.
Yeah.
The Musketeer might even... Oh, no, Musketeer's going to die to the archers.
Nice.
But it will die before it does any damage to the tower, so overall that was a push. That trade did not go anywhere.
Yep, and that was a double elixir push that Alex OP had. And that's actually why I thought it was so weird that he played the Sparky in front of the tower rather than behind the King Tower.
Yeah.
When you have double elixir, you're really, really looking for a slow push. You want those pumps to really make a big difference. Oh, no!
The only time I would play Sparky, I think, near a tower is when there was, say, like a Royal Giant coming in. Some other, like, big, obvious, slow thing that I can play around. But, like, right here, it's going to die. It's going to get frozen again.
Yep.
Like, how many times does your Sparky have to get frozen before you quit doing that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is fun to watch her shoot.
Yep. Sparky's charging up. Skeletons will surround it, and the Dark Prince is now up against Musketeer. And that's going to be doing pretty well. And we have now a Dark Prince, and finally it seems like Alex OP is getting some kind of leverage, but no, the Valkyrie jumps in and just wipes everything out. And this is really one of the reasons why, after, you know, we mentioned about that Valkyrie buff, after kind of that buff to the Valkyrie, it's just become such a hallmark card of just like the beacon of efficient defense, right?
Yeah.
AoE, cleave, tanky, really great at soaking up damage from things like maybe a Prince charge or even up against like Dark Prince. Look at this.
Yeah. Oh, the Valkyrie is one of the strongest tank cards in the game. I mean, it's so good. Big Spin, was able to pull that out over Alex OP. The Sparky was, while entertaining, ultimately completely trumped by the freeze. But of course, after the next update, freeze will be a little shorter, and maybe Sparky can come back to life in time. What's awesome about the Super Magical Cup, guys, I want to congratulate. We had at one point over 400 viewers, which is, I believe, a new high for the Super Magical Cup.
Absolutely.
The Super Magical Cup is quickly becoming the place for high-level tournament play in the Clash Royale community. Some of the biggest names are sitting around. It's Group C, right? Oh, sorry, it's right there. Is that one in?
No.
Oh, no. Yeah, we have some of the biggest names in the Clash Royale community sitting around. Jason, the winner of the Helsinki tournament, is actually over in Group 3, or Group C, along with Malade, who was a top 4 finisher last week. And we're actually going to pull up a game from Group C. We got I think it's, keep going against Mr. Frodo.
Frodo. And actually, Mr. Frodo was a top 8 winner.
That's right. Oh, I think we just saw it up there. Nope, keep going. We're trying to find. We got note that there was.
They're dunking each other right now.
Let's keep going. There might have been a game 1.
That would be above this.
Yeah, there it is. We got all right. Game 1.
Nice.
Let's just. I'd even watch this whole game if we could. So we got Jason, the Helsinki winner, playing the namesake deck, the Jason deck, right? This is a giant Hog Rider beatdown push deck. This is almost exactly what he played. Actually, it is exactly what he played in Helsinki. Mr. Frodonath, a top 8 finisher from last week, playing a very interesting deck. When was the last time you saw Skeleton Army in tournament play?
It was a long time ago, and one of the other things to mention is that Skeleton Army is only getting stronger after the patch, right? After the 18th, Skeleton Army is gonna become even more prominent, and we'll see. I think this is a great card against Jason's deck, because the thing about Jason's deck is he only has one set of arrows.
Yeah, and so, I mean, this isn't exactly an arrow overload deck or whatever, but it is something where you can get caught off guard without your arrows.
If Jason doesn't realize that Skeleton Army is coming down the lane, and then he throws down his arrow, Skeleton Army does a lot of
Ice Wizard by Mr. Ferdinand's going to be really good, too, against both the Giant and the Hog Rider and all those things. Let's get in this game. Let's not keep these people waiting any longer. I'm excited. I haven't seen Jason play since Helsinki. I know he does play. He's a regular on the tournament scene. This is his first time in the Super Magical Cup. Let's see if he can continue that level of dominance that we saw in Finland.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see. I feel like Jason has a lot of sensibilities towards unit positioning and timing. That is what I truly believe won him the tournament in Helsinki, was just that care he put into elixir control and then making sure his units came across the river in the right order.
We've got a hog coming out, a little naked hog, see how it's going. That's 7 elixir to respond to a 4 elixir push. It may not be the most efficient, but as you see, he barely took any damage. It took maybe 1 hog swing the whole time.
And this is exactly the thing that Jason likes. He likes to see what is placed on the board and then arrange his units in the perfect manner to kind of deal with it. And there we go. The Skeleton Army is kind of revealed, and Jason has arrows on hand.
Look, both legendaries survived, and they're continuing on. Even after the arrows is played, Ice Wizard tanking for the Musketeer is a ton of damage.
Nice. And that is kind of like a pseudo, mini version of a Musketeer, freeze-ish, right? The Ice Wizard will tank up the tower shots and also slow down the tower, while the Musketeer spends that time just doing... Because the Ice Wizard doesn't necessarily do a lot of damage on his own, but Musketeer...
If you've ever left an Ice Wizard to attack a tower, you're amazed at how long they just stand there trading shots because of the slow tower and the tankiness of the Ice Wizard. So
it seems consistent that Mr. Frodonath is okay with trading 6 to 4 against the Hog Rider, and he's demonstrated that kind of even 7 to 4. And I think he's pretty confident with that just because of the counter push that he pushes.
That's the most delicious fireball ever
God.
seen. Wow. So it's crazy. Jason did put together a pretty expensive, like a 10-ish elixir push there, but lost all of it to a fireball and is now staring down a pretty deadly 12 elixir push right here.
Oh, no.
And the Giant can't defend. We've talked about this. Giant and Hog Rider cannot defend themselves.
Nice. The Minion Horde was able to take down the back line, but the Giant made it over to Jason's tower on the right side.
Archers aren't attacking, which means that the Skeleton Army is going to get free reign on this Giant.
No, and look
Where's
at
the
how
arrows?
much
He's got
damage!
the elixir. Jason just now has the elixir, and it's too late.
We talk about Minion Horde being such a great defensive card because it does its damage before you can even arrows it, and Skeleton Horde is in very much the same way, especially when you can surround the enemy trooper.
Interesting choice by Mr. Frodo there not to fireball that. I feel like he could have fireballed all the archers, all the spear goblins, and the Hog Rider, and probably not taken as much damage, but
I think he feels value. I think he's just scared of the combination of a giant coming up with a barb.
Now, barbs are coming right now. I mean, I think he's going to be afraid of the barbs being dropped right on the Ice Wizard's head, and he's going to want to be able to counter that. Wow, though, unfortunately, that giant push on the left is going really strongly. The Skeleton Army didn't do enough. The arrows took it out.
Jason has to be very careful, though. He's got 20 seconds left, and he's working on a full health tower. Now only does a Hog Rider Barbarian combination come in, and he has arrows primed. And this could be a very different push, Barbarians, and look at how much backline there is. Arrows is not going to take down. There's a fireball, but he's going to opt to go for a.
Oh, and it survived! No, here's the thing. Jason doesn't have fireball. He can't
has a
finish
Hog Rider. No, it's not enough time.
Oh, with only 1 second left, Jason loses game 1. Do you want to watch game 2 of this match? I've got to see. Mr. Frodo is a regular at the tournament. He's, I believe, played in every Super Magical Cup so far, and certainly top-8'd last week. Jason obviously is probably the most well-known tournament player in the game currently. So let's see how game 2 between these two went.
Yep. Let me make sure that we are on the right track.
Now, what's interesting is that Jason and Mr. Frodonoth, Mr. Frodonoth now has to change decks. So he had. I've only ever seen Jason play the one deck, actually, like the Jason deck.
I actually know his second deck.
I don't
At
know
least the
keep the surprise.
You don't want to.
I don't want to know. I want to
see
it. I want to be surprised.
I know. I wonder if he's gonna use it, but I have my guesses as to what his second deck is.
He's got to if he wins this game. Mr. Frodonoth has switched his decks to a Royal Giant. It's weird. It kind of looks like the triple threat deck that we've seen, but sort of a hybrid between. It's got the Valkyrie Musketeer. It's got Royal Giant. This will be a very different game from the last one, but let's see.
Let's take a look.
I've never actually seen the Jason deck against Royal Giant because Royal Giant was
not popular.
Was not buffed, at the time of the event.
Yep. Let's see. So 1-0, Mr. Frodonoth takes an early lead, and he played really well. I really like his, because a lot of people think like, oh, we have to trade Elixir efficiently all the time, but Frodonoth is like, no, I'm just gonna spend 7 to defend your Hog Rider, and then I'm gonna gain back that advantage when we push across. And that's really how you have to be thinking about the game, right? It's not simply about the surface level interactions of just like that one situation.
Yeah, we'll see, and I think you see a lot more of that as the meta adapts to Royal Giant, because like you mentioned, Royal Giant is 6 Elixir doesn't ever kill him. So while it seems like, oh my gosh, these Royal Giant pushes do so much damage, if you can repel a Royal Giant push while only taking like 500 damage, that's actually really good because whatever you're pushing back with is a lot of elixir. Like, what are you gonna do about these barbs? You know what I mean?
Oh no, and this combination is looking really deadly. I don't think Jason has. Okay, he's gonna mini horde him back. Nice. He uses the tower health to survive that situation, but a lot of damage put onto the tower. Full health minion horde can get zapped down, so that's not going to be a great counter push.
But then again, Giant plus Archers is a very threatening push, and Mr. Frodonoth doesn't have his Fireball. He just used his Fireball.
Yep. Spear Goblin's added on. He's really taking advantage of the fact that Frodonoth does not have any clear, and he doesn't even cannon. Oh my god, this counter push on Jason's part. Spear Goblins plus the Archer takes that left side tower and the right side.
How do you stop both these things?
And this is really interesting because now the Giant is essentially being tanked for because the right side arena tower is not shooting the Giant. And look at how much damage he's putting into the King Tower. It's just a triple. Oh my god.
It's happening so quickly. Just like that. So I think what happened with Mr. Frodonoth there is he actually tried to split push in kind of a bad way. He had the Royal Giant coming down the right side, and then as the Royal Giant crossed the river, he played another push on the left side. What ended up happening is when Jason countered, he had a huge elixir advantage. Big counter push is already on the way, and only really needed to supplement those pushes with a single Giant to lead to this, I mean, devastating.
And guess counter. What it was, Remham? He was patient enough to sacrifice 1k health on his left side tower. He's like, hey, attack the tower, and then I'm going to trade out these cards, and I'm going to make a counter push that's going to be super effective. And now it seems like Mr. Frodonoth is in a lot of trouble. Bad Fireball.
Not enough. Some of those Barbarians yet even lived, and that is a quick 3-0 for Jason, not taking the loss. That's the first time I've ever seen Jason lose the last game in tournament play because he 9-0'd through the top 8.
Yeah, he never lost.
Never lost. So this is the first time Mr. Frodonoth claims game 1. Jason comes back with game 2. Let's see who wins game 3. This will determine, I believe, maybe not who moves on right away, but only one of these two people can actually move on to the top 8 of the Super Magical Cup.
Yep, and it's going to be decided here. And we're going to see what Jason's second deck he decided at least to play in this tournament is. So it wasn't what I saw in another I think it was a YouTube video. I saw Jason playing like kind of obscure. Yeah,
he
played like a Giant triple musketeer deck.
This is interesting because it is not the standard trifecta triple threat freeze deck that we've seen around. It looks like a much more regular like Hog Zap deck, right? It's got the cheap cycle cards. It has Zap and Fireball for direct damage to help finish off your Hog pushes. What I think is most interesting about this is that instead of playing, let's say, Valkyrie or Mini P.E.K.K.A. As his second attacker, it's a big squad of Barbarians, which is probably great against countering other Hogs, countering Royal Giants, and as we know, Barbarians can take a tower for sure.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what happens in the final game between Jason and Mr. Frodo. Jason came back to take a 3-crown win, and he tied it up 1-1.
Hooray!
All right, so we've got a Royal Giant coming over on the right side right away. That's kind of, I don't actually like that play by Mr. Frodo. I don't like the sudden Royal Giant. I understand why, like if they don't have the cards in their hand, you know, you can get a decent amount of damage. But even in that situation, was that really worth throwing 6 Elixir away on? Like 6 Elixir for 700 damage? I don't know. I don't really think that's a great trade.
Yeah, I agree. And Jason's gonna get his Hog Rider onto the left side tower. 1.9k health remaining, 1.8k. It's fairly even. It's fairly even so far. But I feel like more needs to be seen to really make a decision on which way this game will swing. Minions up against the Valkyrie. The Ice Wizard is going to do pretty well against that.
Yeah, Ice Wizard standing at the river actually, you know, he does so little damage that it is easy for pretty much any unit to trade with him. Let's see if this Fireball... Oh, Fireball does come down. It's not going to kill the Musketeer, which unfortunately leaves that Musketeer there to just continue to chop up your defenses. But the nice thing is that Musketeer won't counter push. It'll basically die to the tower before getting in range. Unless, of course, you put a Royal Giant in front of it.
Yep. And this Musketeer is going to be able to do a lot of damage. And Jason is patient, so he's going to make sure he takes down that Musketeer. Make sure he gets no more value. But he's taking a lot of health.
Wow, that's a lot of damage that he's taking right there. The Goblins would have been a good counter, but the quick time zap by Mr. Frodo was able to, you know, take out those Goblins before they ever really tore down the Royal Giant. One hit from the... Oh, one hit from the Hog Rider! And the zap almost snuck in a second one, but not quite.
Yep.
We're looking at a relatively even game here. Both right towers have a little bit of chip damage on it, but not enough to make a significant difference. Another reason why I don't like those early Royal Giants, I mean, Mr. Frodo did, you know, 400 or 500 damage to the right tower, but it's ultimately not going to matter because it looks like the battle is really on the left side.
And it was really just because of those counter pushes, right?
Pretty interesting push. We've got Valkyrie, Ice Wizard, and Royal Giant. A solid 12 Elixir coming down.
Yep, Ice Wizard.
Or, I'm sorry, 13 Elixir.
Valkyrie. Oh.
I don't think it's enough. Just 3 minutes. Oh, the Barbarians come in, but they're a little late. Can they stop the attack?
No,
they are.
Jason. Oh my God! Nice. The Barbarian pulled the Valkyrie up. He's gonna actually save his tower from that, but he needs to make a very big, impactful push right now. Fireball on hand, but he doesn't even need that.
Doesn't hit the cannon though, unfortunately. One attack, and the zap is a wasted zap by Jason as it came in a little too late. This cannon will stop the Valkyrie, but gosh knows whatever's gonna come with that Valkyrie.
Yep. The Royal Giant is now primed, and it's guaranteed to get onto the tower now because the cannon is the only building he has. And Mr. Frodo is going to play it on the right. I actually did a video about this. This is so smart. I really like how this is actually the lowest risk move that Mr. Frodo can do. And yep, he's just going to fireball it down. Perfect.
Wow, 5 Elixir and the zap takes it with 9 seconds left. I actually wish he would have waited just a little bit until overtime because why even waste that 2 Elixir now?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it does look really good. He's got the Elixir Collector in the middle. The level 1 Elixir Collector, I'd like to point out, that could barely tank the damage. Congratulations though, Mr. Frodo takes it from Jason with a zap with 10 seconds left to finish off a 5 health tower. Mr. Frodo, congratulations. Not only congratulations for being, I believe, the first person to beat Jason in tournament play, at least that I've seen, advancing further in the Super Magical Cup, but more interestingly, I don't know if you noticed, Mr. Frodo had under tournament capped cards. He had a level 1 Elixir Collector, only I believe a level 8 Fireball or something like that, or levels. It wasn't. He didn't have max level cards, which I thought was really interesting.
Actually, we can see.
Let's take a look.
We can see.
He has a level 6 Fireball. That's what it is, and a level 1 Elixir Collector. Level 6 Valkyrie. So doing it with 3 under-leveled rares. Out of his 8 cards, 3 were below the tournament cap. Very impressive. That's Mr. Frodo. Do you think he'll make the top 8 again this week?
You know, I feel like he plays really solidly, and the only person to stop him, you know, was Woody.
Yeah.
And Woody is not an easy player to...
I think this was actually an unfortunate matchup for Jason as well. Jason doesn't seem to be someone who likes to play a lot of direct damage or really rely on direct damage. It's used to finish pushes. But when you notice that Mr. Frodo has a level 1 Elixir Collector, it becomes a lot more valuable just to fireball the Elixir Collector and towers. Last week we saw Woody doing that with arrows. He was casting 3 Elixir arrows on tower plus Elixir Collector and actually making it profitable because of because of the difference.
Yeah, Frodo defeats Jason of Helsinki and moves on in the tournament. And
Malade as well. We could watch one of Malade's games.
let's go ahead and watch Malade here. So before we enter into the next series of games, let's go ahead and open up the second raffle question. All right, I know you guys have been sitting around waiting for the raffles.
They're thirsty for free gems.
They're thirsty. So the question that you guys have to answer this time around is, what is your current listed favorite card, and why do you think that is?
Yeah, and why? Definitely why.
Yeah. What is your current listed favorite card, and why do you think that is? So !raffle space answer the question, and after a few games, we'll close out the raffle and take a look at who the 3 winners are and what their answers are to this question. What is your current listed favorite card, and why do you think that is? So raffle is open. Go ahead and enter !raffle space the answer to the question. So what is your current listed favorite card, and why do you think that is? So while you guys are answering that question, let's go ahead and take a look at the match preview for the next series that we'll be watching between Malade versus Silverthorn. Now Malade, Hog Zap, and I don't feel like I saw enough of his gameplay to really kind of identify, it seems like, well, he's running Hog Zap, and maybe actually, it wasn't Malade the Hog Freeze player, and every single one of his freezes
Actually,
is like...
no, actually, Malade's a very skilled Hog player. He's actually, I believe, if he's running the same 2 decks from last week, he's running 2 separate Hog Zap decks. Yeah. Now, well, I remember from last week, again, if it's the same 2 deck list, he may have switched it up this week, was that they're both Hog Zap decks. One had Fireball and one had Freeze. And then in the Super Magical Cup, you have to have 2 different decks that are at least 4 cards different. So what he opted for was to keep Hog, Zap, I think Goblins, and Cannon consistent in both decks, and then switched out the support cards. Instead of minions, Spear Goblins instead of Archers, etc. So he has 1 Fireball deck and 1 Freeze deck, which is really interesting. I actually think the Freeze variant would be better against the Silverthorn deck, because being able to freeze like Barbarians and Royal Giant at the same time gives a lot of opportunities for Goblins, Archers, Minions, etc. to tear up everything. But then again, you can Fireball that whole batch for about the same.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into that game between Malade and Silverthorn and see what happens. Malade, high performer in his Super Magical Cup, and I always
see Silverthorn in the late rounds of the group stages. Like, we do put a lot of emphasis on the top 8, but Silverthorn is someone who, from watching past Super Magical Cups, is always in the mix. He's certainly never someone who's out in the first round.
Yeah, and he's made it far again.
I like the placement of the Hog's minions, so that the Hog actually tanks for those things, or the minions, even post-zap, are allowed to get a few more attacks in.
So that was a 4+3, a 7 push for Malade, and a defensive 5 for Silverthorn for the cannon and the zap.
And that allowed him to sneak an Elixir Collector down while not taking any damage. Great, that's exactly what you want, basically.
Oh, okay.
I don't like that Fireball.
He's actually going to opt to take the hit.
I mean, that's about 2 Elixir to take 4 pumps off an Elixir Collector, which really puts it down to 2 less than its cost or whatever.
So basically what Malade kind of announces, at least what he should... Nice, Barbarians plus Goblin does a lot of work onto that Royal Giant. But basically what Malade is announcing is, okay, he probably should just go down to left lane.
Yeah, I mean, he spent 2 Elixir to do about 300 damage to the tower. That's usually not a great trade, but if you think that the road to victory is going to be cycling Fireballs over and over again, go for it. He also may have made that decision because he doesn't really know what kind of deck Silverthorn's playing. If that's a Golem deck or a P.E.K.K.A. Double Prince deck, they really rely on the Elixir Collectors to execute their strategy.
And the big thing is now Silverthorn doesn't have the opportunity to get double Elixir, and he's getting punished now.
Smart move, though, playing it on the right side so he can't Fireball it. I think Malade really set him up there. He was waiting for that Elixir Collector and just dumped, 10 Elixir, was that 11 or 10 Elixir as soon as he could to punish it, and the punish worked. It took 1,300 damage off that tower.
And we mentioned earlier in the stream that timing is everything, and maybe that's the big reason why Malade just opted to use the Fireball, because he's like, hey, the timing wasn't good this time, but now I know he wants to play those Elixir Collectors down. I'm gonna play conservatively with my Elixir and make sure he commits to that collector, and then I'm just gonna push.
Great Fireball on the right too. It looks like he's just down to Fireball anyone. Nice. I don't like that Fireball from Silverthorn because it only takes out 2 Barbarians, right?
And that was a smart play by Malade to split. This is showing kind of like a veteran experience.
Malade saw the Fireball, knew that one of the worst things he could do is set himself up for a Fireball, so he's never going to try to leave those Barbarians close together. Let's see if he keeps that up the rest of the game.
Nice! I
love
like
the pull. Didn't even take any damage on the Hog Rider.
Perfect.
Pure distraction.
Perfect placement. And the zap.
The zap is probably going to... Oh, looks like...
The minions will do a lot of damage.
Wow! Good bit of damage again on a tower that's already within Fireball range. I feel like if Malade really wanted to, he could just cycle Fireballs.
Okay.
Opting to just keep them off the Elixir Collector.
Alright. And this is... Malcade's play is actually, I really feel like he's just so good at this Hog Rider deck. He's really losing every little advantage that he can get. But this is a troublesome push now. Barbarians, plus the Ice Wizard and the Royal Giant. Minions added on. This is a lot of
fireball. Kills the Ice Wizard behind, but a brand new Ice Wizard is summoned immediately after.
Yep. All right, 2k health down, and the Royal Giant gets taken down. Not bad. It was the big thing about this is that Silverthorn could only muster up this push in the last few moments of the game. So there's
great timing on that zap. I don't know if you noticed that zap. The zap held the Barbarians off just long enough for the archers to finish off the Ice Wizard. Otherwise, the Ice Wizard would have been alive with just a little bit of health left, and that would have allowed that push to continue much more effectively. Oh! The predictive fireball! Well-placed predictive fireball. That ended up taking out the minions that would have been used for defense, and Malcade's won this game. It's just a matter of cycling back, not losing basically in the next, what, 10, 20 seconds.
The cannon will help them.
Barbarians has so many hit points. Even that fireball is not going to be enough, I don't think.
Yep, well, he's going to be glad for the fireballs to be committed because that means he knows that no more elixir will be spent on that left side push to reinforce. And I feel like Malcade had just such a good strategy going in. He knew exactly what he wanted. He was like, I'm going to fireball every single elixir collector, and even though it's not necessarily going to be the best trade for me, I'm just going to use that as my game plan and constantly punish him when the timing is right, spend all my elixirs.
If I can attack when he plays it, do it. If I can't, fireball it.
Yep.
That's great. You know, it's funny, Silverthorn even adapted really well by playing the elixir collectors on the opposite side, and Malcade just kept fireballing him. Just never let up on the fireball plan, which I thought was great.
Yep. All right, so Malcade takes the first game, and his second deck, actually, it's going to be a Royal Giant deck. So he's not playing double Hog.
Not playing freeze at all, actually. After Malcade putting together some of the best freezes we've seen in the Super Magical Cup, he's opted to just stick with the Zap Fireball combo in both decks.
Yeah. All right, so
looks like Archers. Actually, interesting enough, his 4 cards in both decks are Zap, Fireball, Cannon, and Archers.
Yeah, and those are kind of what I would say utility cards.
Yeah.
Really. They're not really the core of your deck.
I get the impression that Malcade has really mastered defense with those 4 cards, and he wants to stick with those 4 defensive defensive game plans and then just mixing up his offense from deck to deck.
Yeah. Royal Giant Valkyrie is going to be a great combination. Minion Horde. Yeah, Minion Horde is a really interesting card because I feel like it's really one of those cards where if you're really keen on looking at moments to punish your opponent, you can really have that Minion Horde push across the river and do a ton of damage.
Absolutely.
When you read the game situation right. That definitely sounds like the kind of player that Malcade is.
Start off a little slow. Again, I don't like these early runs. I'm a big Royal Giant player, so I'm currently sitting at over 4,000 trophies with a Royal Giant deck. I almost never just cast Royal Giant to open the game. I really don't like that play. I feel like you're going to see Silverthorn defend pretty efficiently. He only spent 6 elixirs so far. Was able to get out an elixir collector, so even if he takes this damage, takes a couple hundred damage on his tower.
He's going to be feeling pretty good about it.
He did that after casting an elixir collector.
Now the question is, does Malcade fireball that? I don't think he has the opportunity to.
He's a good guy. He's not going to kill anything.
Yeah, and right now he has a lot of things knocking on his door. Oh my goodness!
The Valkyrie taking out the Ice Wizard really cleared a lot.
Wow.
The fireball missed him.
Yeah.
Did he zap as well? I might have missed a zap in there.
I think it was the Ice Wizard.
Splash.
Yeah, splash the minions low, but that is a great amount of damage.
Valkyrie is probably the best part of that. Killed the Ice Wizard, did a lot of damage to the Royal Giant, and then counter push for another little bit of damage.
Yeah. Malcade started out with a Royal Giant push, and Silverthorn finds himself defending.
Malcade's in a weird position. He doesn't have an Elixir Collector in his deck.
Yep.
So he's going to have to figure out... he is the aggressor, kind of by default.
Yeah.
You can't let an Elixir Collector player just sit back and cast Elixir Collectors over and over again. So Malcade is... actually, well-placed Fireball. I was able to take out both of them, so that's great.
Yep. But now the thing is, what are you going to do about the Barbarians?
That's true. Well, a great place. I'm surprised he didn't play Barbarians there. I guess he didn't want the Ice Wizard to splash damage on them. Now that the Fireball is out, bring out the Barbarians.
Yep.
Oh wait, they're not in his hand. I'm sorry, Malcade doesn't have them in this deck. My bad. I was looking at Silverthorn's hand for a second.
Just gonna let the minions push across them. They're not gonna do anything.
Still though, without Ice Wizard and Minion Horde, I almost wonder. Or, I'm sorry, without Ice Wizard and Fireball, I wonder if the Minion Horde would be a good play right now.
Yeah.
He's gonna go with Royal Giant Skeleton to push some more damage through. Silverthorn has a lot though. That Fireball is good, but I think the Skeletons are already dead, so unfortunately the Barbarians don't die.
And the game plan is falling apart now for Silverthorn. Originally, his deck really wants to put up double elixir and then use that elixir advantage to kind of take it. And the risks that he put in rather the health that he traded in the early part of the game is really coming back to bite him because he hasn't been persistent about his strategy of maintaining elixir collectors.
I mean, he really got put behind by getting those 2 elixir collectors blown up by a single one of Malcade's fireballs, and he's in a situation where he can't play his other elixir collectors within a large radius of his right tower because of the ability of getting it fired.
Oh!
Wow, so this game so far is in Malcade. There's 18 seconds left. I think Malcade is going to be the favorite, but then again, the Royal Giant locked onto the tower and doesn't have a way to get him off unless he zaps it. Is he going to zap it?
And it's too late. Oh, 236. And he needs to cycle spells in 8 seconds. All right,
he doesn't have time.
5 seconds.
5. It looks like that zap to finish it off might be enough. Yeah, can't do it. There was another 5 on his hand, and Silverthorn's deck was so expensive with the Elixir Collector, the Barbarians, lots of 4 and 5 cost cards that he couldn't get it through. So Malcade pulls that out 2-0, I believe.
Yeah. 2-0 Malcade, and continues to demonstrate why he is a top 8 contender in the Super Magical Cup. Oh man, a lot of exciting games so far, Rumham. And why don't we take a little bit of a breather and close out the raffle. We're gonna close out the raffle, and I'm gonna announce the raffle winners for this particular question, and we'll see who the 3 lucky winners are. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw now, and our first winner will be Mr. Mindy Mind. Mr. Mindy Mind says, Golem. If you play it right, it can be extremely devastating with the right support. However, he can be countered easily and lead to elixir disadvantage by using the right cards. Inferno, Minion Horde, Barbarians, and even Skeleton Army. Really, really nice message from Mr. Mindy, and he's absolutely right. The Golem is a very devastating card with the right support, and you know, Super Magical Cup winner, the second Super Magical Cup winner, Ryguy, made good use of the Golem, and he demonstrated just exactly how powerful that card can be. So, Mr. Mindy Mind, thank you so much for entering the giveaway, and we will go ahead and send you, oh my goodness, hit the microphone. We'll go ahead and send you a message regarding what you can do to collect your bucket of gems. All right, the next winner is going to be Swamp RSG. Swamp RSG says Skeleton Horde because spooky, scary skeletons. Oh man. And Skeleton Horde is going to be, I guess he means Skeleton Army, and that's going to be powered up after the 18th of May, and it's going to become incredibly strong. So Swamp RSG, you're going to have a good time after the patch. So we're going to go ahead and give you a message for the next steps. And the last winner for this particular raffle question will be picked here. Let's go ahead and take a look. It's gonna be, oh no, he didn't answer anything, so we're gonna draw another one. It's gonna be Clash MX3, and Clash MX3 says Fireball, great to attack and defense. So the Fireball is a very flexible skill, as he says, good on defense, good on offense, and the thing about spells is that they just can get so much value in terms of elixir efficiency. So Fireball will be his favorite card. We're gonna go ahead and send him a message on Twitch. Make sure, to all the winners, make sure you check your inbox on Twitch. Make sure you check your inbox, and if you don't find it there, check it in the other messages tab in your inbox. Messages will be sent out. If not now, by the end of the stream, they will be sent out. So make sure you check that and figure out the winners. Or rather, the winners need to figure out if they've gotten the message for the giveaway. All right. So what we will do is hop into more fantastic Super Magical Cup games. We've seen some very exciting things. Rumham, Jason versus Mr. Fridonoth, and this is exactly what we wanted. We wanted to see the perceived top competitors and see how they match up against the other players and slowly build out our leaderboard to kind of have a good representation of who is consistently high placing in tournament play.
Absolutely. I mean, this is something that I think we all are excited about from every competitive, organized gaming of every game we've ever cared about. Is the kind of question: who's the best?
Yeah.
Who are the top people? Who are the big names? And Clash Royale is so new that we're only just now really starting to discover who those people are.
All right. Ooh. We have another match coming up between two players, Lelouch versus David, and Lelouch has Fire Spirits. Fire Spirits. This is a card that I really want to see more of and I'm glad that they're getting buffed a little bit in the upcoming patch because
They're really strong right now.
Yeah, I really want to see more people utilizing the Fire Spirits, and as you know, Mini P.E.K.K.A is my favorite card, and I really want to level up my Fire Spirits so I can do that combination.
I think the keys to look for in this match would be Fire Spirits being used on defense against the Minion Horde. I think they're a really great sort of zap or arrows level cheap counter to Minion Hordes on defense. You'll see that. I think what you'll see a lot of, though, is Hog Rider rolling out with Fire Spirits in tow. It's sort of like being able to cast arrows or Fireball preemptively on whatever defensive units they play. If they were to play like a Minion Horde on top of your Hog Rider, the Fire Spirits just eat it up before
they
attacks.
Yeah.
And if they don't, that's something like 600 damage on their tower for 2 elixir, which is an incredible value.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this game between Lelouch and David and see how these Fire Spirits are implemented in his game plan.
It's also important to watch how Hog Mirror matches play out. I mean, Hog Rider is one of the most commonly played cards at all levels of the ladder, and knowing how to counter Hog Rider as a Hog Rider deck is something that's very important to know. You can't just play Hog Rider and win. You will always see it on your opponent's side.
All right, there we go. Hog Rider Fire Spirits, and he's just going to
trade. It's actually an interesting mirror because it's Hog Rider and...
Nice.
Yeah. It's crazy how the cards played on both sides are almost the exact same. It's Hog Rider plus Goblins versus Hog Rider and Fire Spirits. And as you can see, even though it's a lower level, the Hog Rider plus Fire Spirits got through a ton of damage.
Big thing with the zap. The zap on the right side, Lelouch went ahead and zapped the Goblins. That was played. Oh,
that was a missy. I think he was trying to hit the princess. And just walked out of the way.
And now he essentially had to play like not really 7 elixir because he did hit the elixir collector, but it was an expensive trade.
That was pretty inefficient use of elixir.
Yeah. And now this Ice Wizard is just running across the level. He's really not going to accomplish very much.
I always feel like people underestimate the amount of damage an Ice Wizard does on a push, though. I mean, even though it doesn't look like much, he did about 350 damage for 3 elixir, which is like not the worst given that he was already a defensive used on defense. Wow, that zap killed those goblins before they ever got anywhere, and this Hog Rider is going to do a threatening amount of damage.
52 for its 295.
Pretty even, though. I mean, it's about an even board right now. Both players are facing a pretty much indefensible dead weak tower on one side or the other.
Nice.
Except that David has an elixir collector.
I really like the fact that David chose to just play the Archer to take down that low health tower.
I know you can't stop that first shot. That first shot will always get through.
Yep.
I don't really like these random goblin plays, though, by Lelouch, because, like, you know they're not going to get past the cannon. What are you doing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, no!
Weird cannon placement was a little too far back.
Yep. The zap and the cannon. It was a little... I mean, it's fine because he had the goblins in the back. He does take a few swings, but what Lelouch has to think about is he's in an awkward spot. That health is not quite enough to fireball it down, and he's just he's going to take the elixir collector down with it, too. And I think that's exactly his ticket in. So now what Lelouch needs to do is focus on the right side of the map.
Oh, too far up. Too far up. Oh! I mean, I'm glad that the Fire Spirits are able to help counter that Minion Horde a little bit.
Really don't like this choice to place the Hog Rider down. Now he doesn't have the elixir to defend, and he's trying to commit to an 87 health tower. Again, he really just needs to start focusing on the right side of the map and then just time a fireball.
Oh, the Fire Spirits got caught in the princess shot. Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I actually think Lelouch needs to take the foot off the gas pedal for a little bit. He's behind and continually gets further behind with every exchange. So instead of trying to keep throwing out Hog Riders and Ice Wizards and stuff, should try to get a good, efficient counter push. Like, where's these barbarians? I feel like the barbarians have been great there. And behind the back of that could create a good counter push.
There we go, 2 for 3, but zapped, and these goblins, oh!
Oh, and now that there's nothing to stop the Minion Horde up in the Ice Wizard. Now, granted, the Fireball does push into overtime, but at what cost?
Yep, I mean, 644 health down on the left side tower, and Lelouch has not even gotten started on David's right side tower. But their elixir even now.
I don't know. Oh, that Hog Rider's gonna be the death.
Barbarian! Ah!
Playing the Hog Riders on the side was just too slow. Between the zap.
Oh,
he does it!
The Fireball!
But there's a Fireball to finish it off. It's in overtime. Why is David not just casting the Fireball? Why even Fireball that? Oh,
no.
Just kill it. Now he's just dragging it out. BM. We got some turbo BMs right now.
Oh my goodness.
Just Fireball him. You have it. You have the power.
You can do it. Well,
he's totally BMing. He's totally... Yeah, he's psyching him out.
Well played. All right. Okay, David. Okay. You did it. You got it.
The weird Fire Spirits looked both very good and very bad at different parts of that game. There were times where Fire Spirits made very efficient trades. Other times they just got caught into a Princess Arrow and... Whew.
Yeah. What is this? Yeah, Lelouch, and I feel like David put together a pretty good game plan. He was pretty, you know, I feel like Lelouch missed out on a lot of opportunities to utilize his barbarians to defend against the Hog Rider, and it's one of the best ways to. It's elixir deficit, but there's no risk of you taking any damage to your tower, really.
Game 2.
Lelouch will maintain.
Yeah, sticks on the same deck. David has to switch, but interestingly enough, seems like it's still playing another Hog Zap deck. I'm not sure exactly what cards are overlapping. I think it's Cannon, Princess, Hog, and Zap are the 4 that are carried over from the last.
He had
the other
Fireball, and then he didn't have Skeletons, and I'm not sure.
He did not have Skeletons.
Yeah.
I think it's those 4 cards.
Yeah.
Zap, Hog Rider, Princess, and Cannon.
Yeah. Let's take a look. See. All right, Lelouch versus David. David's leading 1-0 against Lelouch. It was a pretty crazy game, really aggressive when you have Hog kind of mirrors. And again, we see this interaction.
Same opening.
Nice. Barbarians on Lelouch. And this is what we were talking about in the first one. He really needed to start using his barbarians to defend. Goblins leaving charge, gets zapped out.
But the zap also holding the barbarians for another shot or two means that this princess is going to survive.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the big thing about princess is like sometimes people are not willing to commit all that elixir because you know you've already spent your elixir on the board. But the fact of the matter is, if you can get the princess to survive, it's going to continuously ping away at no risk.
Princess plus zap is incredible. Like those are 2 cards that, you know, 2 great tastes that taste great together. Because you can always play Princess at the river or near the river and have her kill, have her attack on defense. What's crazy is, and it's a little late on the zap there, when you play Princess, there's a million ways to overspend at the river there, to play like Barbarians or play something big like Mini P.E.K.K.A. to pay more than the Princess's cost. Anything less than the Princess's cost can be zapped. Right?
Yep.
So if you have zap in hand with your Princess, you create these situations where they like respond really quickly with goblins, you zap the goblins, and your princess ends up taking 3, 4, 5 shots before they can muster like, oh, okay, what do I do against this card?
Okay, goblins up against nice cannon.
Well placed cannon, yeah. And the barbarians finally come out. Lelouch was kind of hesitant to play them last time because of the fireball, but it looks like there's no fireball in David's deck this time, and I wonder if that'll change Lelouch's decision making.
Yep, and now the barbarians are going to move across. Princess is played defensively.
And she lives! Oh, she lives again!
Goodness. The princess never dies.
She's so strong. And ice
no!
Oh, no, Lelouch!
No, that's what happens when you go out and you see a pretty girl and you're just like, oh god, I can't, and then you turn around and walk away awkwardly. That's what the ice wizard does.
The fire spirits even got caught in the princess splash again. So once again, fire spirits were just 2 elixir that just immediately disappeared off the map.
I feel like I haven't quite seen a princess be this effective yet in the Super Magical Cup. But this princess, the princesses that David
knows how to defend his princess, and it actually seems like he's doing it on purpose. Like it's like they're purposeful baits. He's putting the princess just close enough that makes you want to go for it, but within the range that David knows he can hold you off and get a lot of value out of it.
He's essentially just kiting you.
I mean, princess is the only card in the game that can do infinite damage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it never walks into tower range. If unanswered, I think we've all played games against Princess where she gets 10 shots on your tower.
It's like, right? I just don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
The princess. Oh!
I had a guy rage quit on me the other day on the ladder.
Oh, yeah?
Because a princess attacked. I mean, honestly, took his tower from full health down to like sub 1,000.
Oh my god. Good zap, but no anti-air, which means the minions are going to be operating at full capacity. Hog Rider. Oh,
great
nice.
placement on the can. I think it's gonna. It does not draw the other tower attack.
It needed to be 1 square over, but the Hog Rider did the jump on the river, so I like the fact that it was played close. And again, we see. Oh no!
Fire spirits. David is just getting infinite value out of his princess. They're staying alive. They're staying alive so long that he's able to get out the second one, right?
And a Hog Rider and Spear Goblins.
Oh no! And those Spear Goblins are still. I mean, they could be zapped, but they're still going. They dodge the zap because it's played on the Hog Rider. And once again. These princesses. He's got another princess. He's already got another one ready.
The story of the day, Rumham, is why you play arrows.
Yeah.
This is why you play arrows.
Like, it's crazy, too, because I do that a lot. I play Fireball more than arrows, personally. And I tend to Fireball princesses at towers. And the crazy thing is they put you behind. Like, you can do that. You're down 1 elixir. I mean, granted, it's 1 elixir to do a lot of damage to the tower, so it's not a horrible trade.
Yeah.
But,
and you also save yourself all the damage that Princess would be doing if you were just stubborn and was like, I'm
these
not
fire spirits are gonna finish it off. Oh, he zaps the tower. 1, 2.
Oh.
Whoa!
And the fireball. He's got it. Lelouch comes back.
Very nice. Takes game 2 after.
Despite the fact that the princesses were just beating Lelouch left and right.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised he was able to pull that out. Given how well David was playing, it's almost like David spent so much time defending his princess and being
Yeah.
like being tricky, he forgot to take the tower.
Yeah.
Still got to do
I feel
3,000
like
damage.
if he had thrown in more well-supported Hog Rider pushes or set up his princesses such that they could take down the cannon before he committed his Hog Rider, that would have been a much better use of the fact that he was keeping his princesses alive.
It's funny, like that's kind of what we always talk about in competitive games. The goal is to win the game. It's not to be cute, you know. It's not to show off all the cool tricks you can do. That you got to win the game.
Ah, spawner!
This is actually really interesting. This is a variant of Royal Giant decks that I've been seeing a lot. I believe Chief Pat popularized the deck list, the current #1 on the ladder. He's a very popular YouTuber, one of the bigger Clash of Clans, Clash Royale YouTubers. He had a variant of this deck that was Elixir Collector, Goblin Hut, Arrows and Fireball, so not Zap Fire, but Arrows and Fireball. Barbarians, Royal Giant, Spear Goblins, and I believe the last card, it wasn't Ice Wizard. I want to say it was like Archers. I mean, I'm not sure. We can take a look at it later. But it was a no legendary version. What's really interesting is the Goblin Hut goes so well with the Royal Giant.
Yeah.
Because you play the Goblin Hut like an Elixir Collector. Well, I don't know what to do right now. I don't really want to push for Royal Giant because I don't want to open myself up to a counter push. So let me just play Elixir Collectors and Goblin Huts. When you finally do play your Royal Giant, the Goblin Hut generates, I mean, essentially free squads of these 2-cost Spear Goblins behind your Royal Giant that lets those pushes become really effective.
Yeah, absolutely. And David is back again to his Princess Hog Zap. And I feel like the cannons were really hurting David in that last match. He just didn't really have a good way to answer them. And the Barbarians being used to defend too, Lelouch finally brought that out, and that really put a hamper in David's offensive play.
Now, Lelouch is going to know that David is an incredible Princess player, so he's kind of put in his own situation where he's got to play his Elixir Collectors back. Like, I'm surprised he's playing him forward like that unless he's purposely trying to bait the Princess. But you can see the Princess, I mean, already has earned 2 value, right?
Yeah.
Already earned 2 Elixir worth of value. And then more now you can, it's shooting at the Elixir Collector. That Princess has already paid for herself.
Yep, I had to cleave the tower.
Yeah, and not to mention the extra tower shots. Yeah. So we've got a Zap guarding this Royal Giant. So if some sort of goblins get played, they can just be zapped up real quick. Looks like, oh, okay. It looks like the Ice Wizard would have taken them out with just one more attack.
Yeah.
Opted to zap instead.
Nice. That Ice Wizard was very valuable.
That's an interesting nuance of Clash Royale competitive play. Ice Wizard one-hit skeletons in tournaments, but does not at max level. Level 5 Ice Wizards do not kill level 13 skeletons by 1 hit point.
Interesting.
They survive.
Interesting. But skeletons are getting buffed, so that's gonna be.
That's true. Skeletons will no longer get 1 hit in either situation.
Hog Rider Princess. Oh no! The Barbarians wanted the body block, but the Elixir Collector drew them away, and there's a Princess Zap combination we were talking about. Oh my god, look at it. We talk about bombers being effective against Barbarians, but the Princess really, I mean, it wasn't as effective as bombers, but that was pretty damn good.
I mean, once again, I don't even know how David is falling behind in these games when he's getting like 5 or 6 Elixir of value off of every Princess. I mean, granted, he's using Zaps and stuff to support them, but I feel like he's pulling so far ahead with this Princess play. This is another good thing. Princess is really good against the Goblin Huts. I mean, you have to go out of your way to kill her. And the Goblins really only do like 1 to 2 attacks on her while she's just cleaving the tower. Nice
Barbarians for the body block, but the Princess and the Spear Goblins and the Zap. Again, look at how much value this Princess is getting, but I really feel like it's just the Hog Rider pushes. I almost might be a proponent of sending the Hog Rider on the other lane. Have your Princess get your benefit on the left side, have the Hog Rider push in the left side so he doesn't have to go through all these units, he doesn't have to go through the Elixir Collector.
I almost wonder why David's even playing Hog Rider in this deck. I feel like his normal playstyle is not, like, he's almost dropping the Hog Rider just cuz, just like when he can, why not. But I feel like his natural playstyle is such like a Princess-centered gameplay that I feel like you could almost replace Hog Rider with like poison or something. Like why even bother attacking with Hog Rider?
And just then did Lelouch get his Royal Giant Hut combo, but the Princess and the Hog Rider in combination just reduced the health level of that Hut to so low that it didn't even get wasn't able to get 2 Spear Goblins out.
What's crazy is that Ice Wizard, did finally kill the Prince. Crazy thing about the Ice Wizard is that he was splash damaging both the cannon and the Princess, which put her so low. That's a miss Zap, it looks like.
Yep.
And once again, these Barbarians are getting nowhere. The Barbarians and the Goblin Huts are getting nowhere against David's Princess. But he is chunking down and doing damage. The big thing that's
there's
hurts
a jump.
Lelouch is there's no counter in this deck.
He tried to play the Elixir Collector. because the jump actually avoided the elixir collector on the right, but now the princess is
over.
in prime time to splash all those structures.
I think it's just an arrows. I think the arrows finishes off for David anytime he wants to arrows.
I think the arrows is 93 damage.
Oh, it's tournament levels, right,
Yep,
right.
Yep.
So you're right, he can't throw until he has the zap as well.
Uh-oh. There's starting to get to be a lot of princesses on the right side. And they're going to be just ambling their way, but
Yeah, look at just taking it. Like, how do you even play something right here with these? They're not even moving. Like, they're just sitting back and mortaring your side of the board.
Yep, they're
throw
essentially
the arrows.
mobile
What are you
mortars.
worried about?
Ah! One spear.
And once again, I don't know if David's just, like, unsure.
There we go.
The
Okay,
zap should finish
34. Yep, the zap. Nice.
Yeah.
Triple princess. Maybe he was just trying to see how many princesses he could get.
Yeah, maximize the princess play.
Yep.
Woo!
Princess. Princess is a thing.
All right, so are we closing up the next raffle?
Yeah, let's start a new raffle here, and before we go ahead and watch the next game, I think I have an idea of which game I want to watch. So one more raffle, guys, and we have this coming raffle and 2 more after that. And so there's still a lot of opportunities to win buckets of gems, and if you've already won, you cannot win again. So you're welcome to enter the raffle, but you will be chosen as a winner. So the next question is, let me go ahead and reset the raffle here. We're resetting the raffle. We're gonna go ahead and open it. The next question is, are you a player who likes to switch decks / playstyles around while playing, or do you try to fine-tune one deck / playstyle? So, are you a player who sits down and is, I want to play this deck, and I'm going to adjust it and make adjustments and increase my efficiency at playing this deck with just one playstyle? Or are you the kind of player who likes to try, okay, I'm going to play a beatdown. If that's not working, I'm going to go to my control. If that's not working, I'm going to go to my siege or spawner.
I'm a big deck switcher. I switch my decks probably every like 3 to 5 games. I have a hard time playing a single deck for like 20, 30 matches in a row. There's a lot of switching costs that come with changing decks. I mean, it takes a while to get back into the mindset of how a deck plays, even like the flow of it. Even a card as simple as like Elixir Collector operates very differently in a lot of different decks, and trying to remember all those different things can really slow you down when you change decks.
And make sure you guys include the reason why. Are you a deck switcher, or do you like to fine-tune your one deck, and why?
I always like to try to find new strategies. I'm playing around with decks a lot to always discover. My goal is to discover something that maybe other people didn't know yet. Like, let me tell you something I found out from playtesting for tournaments with my good playtest partner, Yay, it's Andrew. He found out, because he plays an arrow overload deck, an arrow exploit deck, that Zap plus a Goblin Barrel kills a princess. Like, Zap leaves the princess just within range for the landing splash damage of the Goblin Barrel to kill a princess. So he started using that a lot more, or when people play a princess by the tower, he throws the Goblin Barrel and zaps right as they land, and it's like, hey, you know what? That's a 6 for 3. It's not a great trade, but in another way to look at it, it's like getting a 3-cost Goblin Barrel. So if they arrow it, they spent 6, you spent 6, whatever. Like, you're kind of even plus a little bit of damage on their tower, right? Little tricks like that are why I like to switch decks out all the time.
Yeah, very interesting. And for me, I'm the opposite way. I really like to fine-tune decks. I really like to push to see how much I can get away with. Really fine-tuning execution, seeing, okay, I know this deck gets dunked by this other strategy, but is there any way that I can continuously go into the same situation and try to figure out the little things I can change to make it work?
The devil's in the details. I mean, when people ask me, like, what deck should I play, it's hard to just give you 8 cards and have you play it exceptionally. Like, as we saw, David right there had the exact same deck as, a lot of other people. He played it very differently than how I've seen a lot of people play in the past.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's take a look at our next match. Mr. Frodo versus Chief and Xerox. And Frodo, of course, seen him play before, knocked out Jason, and
Now, is this the match that takes you into the top 8? Is this the top 16 round?
That's a good question. It's kind of a mess before the
top 8 is. Yeah, I understand.
Top 8.
We're taking a look over at the brackets and seeing how it's going.
Oh no, it's not updated.
Oh, it's from last week.
Yeah,
got it. Well, either way, Mr. Frodo, if he wins this match, or, of course, Chief and Zero-X, or and Xerox, the winner of this match is one step closer to the top 8. I know we're really nearing the end of the group stages, because we believe normally start the top 8 around 2 o'clock-ish. So we are pretty close to the end of the group stage round, so the winner of this game is going to get really close. Once again, Mr. Frodo is playing the Skeleton Army deck that I think a lot of people are really excited to play, because Skeleton Army is just kind of disappeared recently in the meta.
And I feel like it's time for it to make a research. Skeletons. It's time for skeletons to make it. Tombstone, skeleton army, witch, skeletons.
It's crazy because actually looking at this matchup, I don't see what skeleton army is going to be really strong against. It's not going to be great. It's going to be great against the Hog Rider, right?
Yeah.
But it's weak to the Zap. It's weak to the Princess. It's weak to the Minion Horde.
Yeah.
Will be interesting if he can use the skeleton army to swarm over a cannon that might be used to try to stop one of these giant or musketeer pushes. I could see a lot of value coming out of that skeleton army.
Yeah. We'll see. I think there's a niche opportunity for him to make a big benefit off of that, but can he do it? That's a big question.
All right, Mr. Farnoth opens with an Elixir Collector in his hands, a great position to be in, because if you want to start getting ahead on Elixir, what a better time to do it than the first card you play in a game.
Yep. But the thing is, if he's relying on his skeleton army for defense, he's going to be in for a shock when that... Okay, yep, the princess is down. He already knows that that's not an option now.
Yeah, that card is basically dead in your hands. He might be Fireball. He's hovering the Fireball. He's thinking about it. Decides not to.
I feel like the play here is to let the princess get one shot and then just play the musketeer. Nice lightning, but it misses.
Trying to hit all three. Yeah, it's unfortunately he missed all three right there.
Yep.
Because I mean, I think that changes it from a like a relatively even play to a huge advantage for Chief Anzarox.
Goblin plus Minion Horde on the back.
Oh, no! Great arrow!
The lone giant. Look at him swing.
You know what's crazy is everyone has thought about ways to kill a Royal Giant, right? But Royal Giant has like only 2/3 or even less of the hit points of the Giant. It's crazy that a Royal Giant would be dead right now, but the Giant's trucking on, still threatening to do a lot of damage.
The Giant is very tanky. It is incredibly tanky. Surprisingly slow. Surprisingly so.
That might be a card that comes back in the new meta after this balance update, in the sense that if everyone's really good at countering Royal Giants, and then the Royal Giant players are good at countering what counters Royal Giant, you can swap out Royal Giant for regular Giant, counter those Barbarians, and still have a good amount of Giant left to continue the push.
Yes.
Oop, even Knight gets a pop in. Are we going to see a 3-crown from Mr. Frodo? He's got a good lead on it.
Yeah. And this is a question that we were talking about before. When you have your opponent's tower down, how do you like to play it out? Do you play your slow push on the right side and then try to split on the left? Because now the question is, nice, the skeleton army and the Zap is not actually big enough.
Zap's not big enough. Engine, left the remaining skeletons to help finish it off.
Yeah, and the question is, right, because now every time you push into your enemy territory, you have to deal with both the crown towers shooting at you. And so it changes the dynamic of how you have to set up pushes. And so some people may prefer to play slow pushes down the right in this situation, or some people may prefer to play slow pushes down the left.
It really depends on the coordination of the two towers too. Like we lose the same in both lanes versus the opposite lanes. Like I actually like in this situation, I like pushing down the right lane because as long as I have a tower up, I can make a 3-crown push, but it's hard for people to play stuff behind me. Yeah. But if your tower is out and you try to go down that lane, they can play stuff like pretty significantly behind you, which is dangerous. Yeah. Oh, now only 400 damage left on this tower. Mr. Vernon plays a level 1 Elixir Collector, which is not going to tank for a very long period of time, but it is protecting that precious 400, now 325 damage off the tower. The splash damage, though, of the Princess puts it within lightning range, and we are tied up.
Now, I almost feel like that was a situation where you just have to be okay with that tower going down, and then try to do a counter push as best you can by saying, okay, we're gonna have you waste essentially all.
What a great arrows! That could be the difference in the game here, because this musketeer is gonna take another shot and finish it out in overtime.
God.
The difference, if those arrows had arrived 2 to 3 seconds later, I think Anzarox can hold off that push and maybe win in overtime.
Yep. Fantastic. Now the thing is,
keep showing that level 1 Elixir Collector is not holding him back.
The thing to know about pre-fire arrows is that it can look very flashy, right? And it seems like a very, very gutsy move, but actually in that case, if you're Mr. Frodo, just bear with me a moment.
Okay.
If you're Mr. Frodo and you say, I'm gonna play a giant musketeer, right? And I know his tower is at X amount of health. And X amount of health means that, of course, if he plays any small thing like just skeletons, I know that it's not going to be enough to take down my giant. I know that he needs to play something else. What can actually take down the giant fast enough so that the giant doesn't actually break the tower? There's only one answer. There's only one answer in hand, right? And that's the Minion Horde. And so automatically, you already know that the Minion Horde in that situation, because of how quickly that tower will fall,
only play.
It's the only play. So it might look flashy.
If they haven't folded, they're holding aces. You know it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So what ends up happening is your best choice is just to throw the arrows no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good point. Some people might say that was lucky, that was a lucky arrow cast. I don't think it's lucky at all. Like you said, it's a very deterministic play. I know that if this giant reaches the tower, I win. I know the only card in his deck he can play to stop me is Minion Horde, and he's going to play it as soon as he possibly can. So I might as well throw the arrows, and it's either that much more damage to help finish the game, or, like you said, you get caught in those predictive arrows, and that's game, boys.
Yeah. And the thing is, if he doesn't play the Minion Horde, he loses anyways, right? But the only time you lose is if you don't play the arrows.
Yeah.
Because like you mentioned, that's the only situation where you come out in a deficit. Because if you don't play the arrows, and then he plays the Minion Horde, and it gets 1-2 swings, then your giant's done.
Yeah.
So you may as well have thrown the arrows.
Cool.
All right, let's find the next game in that series. Frodo did very well, and just to remind you guys, the raffle question is: are you a player who likes to stick to a particular deck playstyle, or do you like to switch it up and fine tune, or rather, do you like to switch up your playstyles? Sorry, let me rephrase that. Do you like to switch your decks, switch your playstyles, play a variety of different things in your sessions? Or do you like to fine-tune one deck, one playstyle, make minor adjustments, and just keep hammering away at your one particular strategy, and why? That is the raffle question. All right, do you like to switch, or do you like to stay? That is the raffle question. All right, let's take a look at the match preview for the next game between Frodo and Chief Anzarox. Frodo did very well. Took 2 towers down to take the first win and is 1-0 up against Chief Anzarox. And so Frodo is going to have to change his deck to his second one, which is kind of the pseudo triple threat, the Valkyrie Musketeer, but Royal Giant instead of Hog Rider. And Chief Anzarox is actually going to switch his own deck up. And that's interesting because now he actually has a Dark Prince on top of his Hog Rider Barbarian.
I really like the Dark Prince and Hog Rider together in the same deck because they're very redundant cards. Like they're 2 of the same card. So you see this a lot with Hog Rider decks where they'll play like Mini P.E.K.K.A because Mini P.E.K.K.A is also fast, does a lot of damage to towers. I sort of like that the Dark Prince is the alternate here where you can cycle between Hog Riders and Dark Prince. Both are very fast. They're going to get to your tower quickly. The difference is that unlike Mini P.E.K.K.A, you can't play the cards that you would play in front of a Hog Rider. What I expect to see out of Chief Anzarox this game is that he's going to play Hog Rider, and if Hog Rider eats a cannon, expect a Dark Prince to follow it up very quickly because once the cannon's out, well, what else do you have in your deck? Well, cheap units. Well, cheap units are going to get cleared out by the Dark Prince.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at how these decks will interact. And just as a reminder to the raffles, we can only give Apple Store giveaways to people in the United States. If you are outside the United States, we actually cannot fulfill that request. So if you do not fit those requirements, you can still enter the raffle, but you just won't be able to win pricing. Google Play, Google Play can work for all locations. All right, Dark Prince is going to be
Where's the
moving
cannon?
down
He's
the
going
right
to play the
side.
cannon. I'm surprised he didn't play the cannon there. Cannon's one of the best counters to Dark Prince, and he spent 6 elixir to counter 4. Granted, didn't take that much damage. Still took 500 damage.
Got him sleeping.
Yeah, the cannon would have been a good 3-for-4 trade there. I guess he was afraid it would have left him open to the Hog Rider. Great fireball.
And now he has a cannon, but it's not going to come up in time.
Okay, I think that half health Hog Rider. There's only so much damage he can really do.
3 swings.
That's a lot,
that is
so much is still maybe a couple hundred.
The thing is, like, once Anzarox recognized, okay, actually he doesn't have super threatening cards on the table, I can actually just throw the zap in and get another 2 swings.
I want to see if Chief Anzarox ever picks up on the fireballing that level 1 elixir collector. It's funny because the level cap for rares is level 7.
Yeah.
And so a 1 kind of looks like a 7, and I wonder how many people don't realize that's a level 1 elixir collector.
Yeah,
that
the fireball would just destroy it.
It changes the calculus on a lot of cards.
Yep.
I really like this play here. Royal Giant obviously is just going to sit there and get beat up by the Dark Prince, but the Dark Prince doesn't have a lot of hit points.
Yep.
And as you can see, it doesn't do a lot of damage either. So that Royal Giant basically you get to walk back with a ton of hit points.
Nice.
And even
and
though
he has to play the Inferno Tower anyways. You know?
Interesting fact, we found this out last week, zapping the Inferno Tower does not reset the damage if it relocks onto the same target, only if it changes targets.
Only if it changes targets, absolutely. And so it's still a pretty good counter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a pretty good choice.
What we saw there is, he zapped the Inferno Tower, but it didn't really do much because the Inferno Tower just relocked on the Royal Giant and burned it right back down at high damage speed.
What becomes really strong is if you do something like Royal Giant in the front, Goblins in the back, and then the Inferno Tower spends time charging up on the Royal Giant. You zap it, the Goblins take take over, and then it retargets onto the goblins. That's when it gets really strong.
Great fireball. We were just talking about it. He ended up fireballing the Musketeer and the Elixir Collector, and even though the Elixir Collector had a ton of health left on it, it ended up dying because it was only level 1. So that was a lot of value for cheap Anzrox right there. You could see him actually kind of ahead on board. He has a little bit more troops on the ground, and had a little bit more elixir before they started casting all these cards. Nice. I don't like the idea of using the Barbarians though into the Ice Wizard and the Valkyrie. It seems like kind of a bad matchup when you have a Royal Giant, which would have been perfect.
I feel
he wants to use his Inferno Tower.
This is something that I think a lot of players can optimize is their cannon placement, reacting to how the hog jumps across the river. If you understand it's coming from the middle or if it's not jumping, then just place that cannon for double tower because it just makes it so much more efficient.
Yeah. Great timing on the fireball, ended up taking out the defensive Valkyrie. I mean, we're seeing Princess get so much value in all of these games, and these Hog Riders are actually just getting tied up by these Cannon Ice Wizard combos. Even though the Elixir Collector comes in late, he zapped the Royal Giant to make it retarget to the Inferno Tower. Now there's a great use.
Yeah, that's really, really essential because he does not want to lose any more health on that right side tower.
I didn't like Mr. Frodo zapping the Inferno Tower. Didn't really do much.
No, the fireball. It's right there. It's so...
Anzrock's holding a fireball and isn't fireballing the double collector. He can do it. Maybe he's trying to save it to attack the left side tower. He wants to kill the units maybe more than the big elixir collector.
But this might come around to bite him. Now he has a Royal Giant push and a split push on the left side. He needs to spend elixir on the left because if he loses the tower, he loses the game. But he also needs to spend elixir on the right, and that's forcing him to play a Hog Rider at a time that he doesn't like because he needs a cycle.
The Ice Wizard has just felt so good against Hog Riders of all variety. Once again, these Royal Giants, when they're prepared for, they're very counterable.
Nice. I like the addition of the Barbarians just to make sure that the Royal Giant didn't get any kind of damage in, but now the Ice Wizard is pushing in solo.
Mr. Frodo is just choking this. I mean, not choking in a bad way. He's like strangling Anzrox slowly out of the game. Both towers are at very, very low range. Both are easily threatenable by a Royal Giant.
He has no Inferno!
Oh, there's no Inferno in his hand. He's got a zap. He drops the cheap Goblins. Where's the Inferno? There it is.
Nice. Oh!
Didn't matter though.
The Musketeer.
When both towers are at 300 health, what can you do?
Mr.
Frodo continues his march into the top 8. An incredible player.
Yeah.
Might be one of the strongest players in the tournament, given that he's doing it with underleveled cards.
Yeah, and really, it's kind of that idea that of course, like you can play elixir efficient counters all day, but the instant your towers get low, you start hitting that wall where it's like, well, I actually am not comfortable with taking that risk. I'm not comfortable with taking that risk, so I'm gonna have to spend inefficiently to make sure that I don't leak any kind of damage onto my tower, and that's when it gets really bad.
These are still from last week. Our standard, trying to see how much time's left in the group stages.
Yeah.
Let's keep grabbing games out of the group stage.
Yeah, I think we are about.
We are nearing the end.
Nearing the end. Yeah, I feel like we're already there.
Oh, actually, let's go take a look if we have the top 8 all set up yet.
Let us see. Meanwhile,
I think some of the groups have wrapped up, but maybe not all of them.
Yeah.
So. Oh yeah, looks like we do have a top 8, and interesting. We just got a quick glimpse of it. We've got some familiar faces.
Yeah.
Some regular top 8ers. This is awesome. I love seeing regularly high-performing players week after week make the top 8. This is incredible. We've got a lot of repeat names in this top 8 so far.
Yep. Yeah. Some very, very, and they've kind of just been kind of the hallmarks of great plays, of great players, because they've just been consistently.
Oh, are they already playing the top 8?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I don't think we've missed any of the matches. So we'll get right into it, but let's first go ahead and close out this raffle. I'm gonna go ahead and close it. We're gonna draw the 3 winners for this one. The first one is gonna be No Peak number 1. He says always switching up decks is good because different playstyles help you with a wide range of variations for the updates that might give you a disadvantage.
And maybe I'm seeing things, but I think No Peak is actually in our top 8. He is.
Oh,
so
yes.
Congratulations on both being in the top 8 and winning a giveaway. So I agree with him. Switching up decks is a great way to continue to learn different archetypes, different play styles. I personally switch my decks a lot for that exact reason, is that I found that I'm much better playing against Hog Rider decks after I've spent a few days playing nothing but Hog Rider decks. You start to learn, you know, their patterns, you can be predictive about it. I'm a big Royal Giant player, which is why I think I'm doing really well in this meta, because I'm not only good with Royal Giant, but I'm good against Royal Giant because I spent so much time playing it.
Yep. All right, our next winner is Kunkalator. And he says, I play mainly one Hog Cycle deck, but I sometimes tweak 1 to 2 cards depending on what kind of decks are beating me. So he's kind of like in my kind of territory, right? Where he's just really wants to make Hog Cycle execution perfect, and he just works on it, tweaks 1 to 2 cards if he feels like the deck is too weak against a particular option. And I think, you know, you definitely have to keep an open mind about it, right? Because at a certain point, sometimes the cards just can't do it, and you just need to know, you need to be able to analyze and understand when it's just not worth it anymore. You just embrace the fact that this game is about building your decks, and it is about playing the right decks in the right situation.
I think that's actually what I would recommend, though. That playstyle is how I'd recommend for most people. I think when people get frustrated, they just want to switch the entire deck out, and I think the best thing you can do is actually just find the 1 to 2 cards that aren't really doing what you want them to do, and decide what you're losing against, and try to adapt those spots. It's a lot of switching costs involved with totally changing a deck strategy or whatever. So just switching 1 to 2 cards at a time until you feel like, you know, I've really been hitting my head against the wall with this and it's not going anywhere.
All right. Our oh goodness. Our last winner is Nixum. And Nixum says, I switch decks all the time because I get bored quickly if I play one deck the whole time. I also wish there were more battle deck slots because I often forget my decks that used to play and like.
Yeah, it's funny, some of the beta players might remember there used to only be 1 deck spot, and that was tough times or dark times. And I agree that ever since they've added 3, my first thought has been like, man, I wish I had 5. Like it's quick. It's funny how quickly you get greedy about deck spots because I want to save all these decks for the future.
Yeah.
Maybe if there's just a saving deck function instead of multiple deck spots, I could just put it away in my archive and go bring it back later.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So with that, we will get started with
Let's go to the top 8. Can we see the bracket?
The top 8. Let's see.
It has not been up. I don't know if it's been updated yet.
I'm not sure. It's going to be unfortunate if it
all right, let's ask the admins to hold all the games in the top 8. So they quit. Yeah, quit playing ahead of this. We want to live spectate as much of the top 8 as possible.
Let's see.
I'm just taking a look. Oh, all right, we do have a top 8. Cool.
Cool. We're gonna have to.
That's fine. We'll just cut over to that. Isn't it right? Oh, I see. It's a little shrunk in, so we have to.
We're gonna have
scroll
to
down a bit.
Redo.
Yeah. No, just let me just scroll down because it's just grabbing us part of the screen, right?
Yeah, but the screen grab.
Oh, I see. We can't scroll any lower.
Yeah. It's okay. We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. Let's take a look at what our top 8 is going to be. Really excited about this top 8 because we have, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people from past top 8s of other Super Magical Cups, really showing the quality of play here at Super Magical Cups. These got to be some of the top players in the game at this point. So, Raintown has made a top 8 before. Mr. Frodo has made top 8s as recently as last week. Woody is a multiple-time top finisher. Manu Fan, last week's winner, and Malade, a top 8er or top 4 from last week. So I believe the entire 3 of the top 4 from last week are represented.
Yep.
And the 2 of the remaining 5 spots are taken up by people who have top 8'd before. This is incredible.
Yep. All right. So I do believe that these are the actual games to play. So we can just go ahead and watch the recordings of them.
So yeah, let's just tell them to hold on the top 4 at least. We should at least live spectate the top 4. We won't do the match previews for the top 8. Actually, match previews for the top 8 are probably great because we get to learn all these players' decks. We only know maybe Woody, Mr. Frodo, Malade. We've only seen a handful of these players in the group stages. So being able to see all of their decks in the round of 8 would be really great.
Yep. All right. Let me go ahead and send a message to the admins.
Although I like that we're moving along pretty speedy this week. We might have this wrapped up by 3 or 3:30, which is
yeah. All right.
Actually, you want to change the Twitch title to say top 8 now? Super Magical Cup top 8?
Top 8 now. All right. Let's get into it, guys. So the first match that we're going to be watching is going to be Scler versus Mr. Frodo. And we've kind of already seen Mr. Frodonoth's decks, but Scrazzer is a different story. We haven't seen him play at all. He was from a different group, and he's going to be running Barbarian, Giant, Musketeer, Spear Goblins, Fireball, Arrows. So this is a kind of a heavy spell-oriented deck. 2 of the slots are committed to, and so if we were to think about this in terms of how it differs from, so like Giant, Barbarian, Spear Goblin is kind of similar to Jason, right? But
What's funny is if you replaced Giant with Royal Giant, this would look like a very familiar deck. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's really I wonder if that's an interesting decision where Scrazzer decides to stick with the regular Giant instead of the Royal Giant. But otherwise, it looks. I mean, this is a Royal Giant deck in a lot of ways. I'd be interested to see what sort of pushes he can build. I mean, we know how powerful from the Jason deck. That Giant, Spear Goblins, Archers is just an incredible push.
Yeah.
I bet you Musketeers replacing Archers makes that
Yeah.
that much more resilient.
And on top of that, double spells, double the bullying on Skeleton Army.
Yes.
So we'll see. We'll see how this plays out.
Interesting to note, though, that that Musketeer is much worse against the Skeleton Army than the Archers would be.
Yeah. Because the two separate instances of damage allow the archers to kind of split up and take down the armies twice as fast.
Yeah.
All right, Fried enough. Elixir Collector, the level 1. The level 1 Elixir Collector. Oh!
What happened there?
Oh, God! He picked up the fireball and Butterfingers.
Is that... I did that the other day. I lost a game and I had to walk away because I was dragging my finger across the screen. I hit like a bump or something like that, and I dropped the fireball right on the river.
Oh, no.
However, it looks like, if you're ever going to make a mistake, the best time to do it is very early in the game before, you certainly don't want to do it in a critical period. As you can tell...
especially, it wasn't a dangerous, units weren't pushing across the board.
Hey, by the way, though, we've got Scrazzer taking advantage of Mr. Frodonoth level 1 Elixir Collector. He just arrowed a Musketeer and the Collector, which you would normally never do, except for the fact that I ended up doing a lot of work. Look, here we go.
He still has a fireball. Joke's on you.
Oh!
But still 4 skeletons, and they're all tagged onto the giant. Okay, the giant falls.
I like that push, though. Skeleton Army backing up the giant is interesting because you need both high, heavy single target damage, but then also splash damage to take out the Skeleton Army behind
And the big thing about something like Giant Skeleton is that even if you kill off the majority of the Skeleton Army, say there's even 4 skeletons left over, everything's attacking the giant, those 4 skeletons will sit around and just do tons of damage.
Oh, yeah.
Tons of damage. They live as long as the giant does if you don't play new cards to retarget. And even then, depending on how the skeletons fan out, sometimes you place a new card, kills 1 skeleton, and then targets on the giant, and then there's still 3 more. And they're still doing huge amounts of damage.
Scrazzer's been leaking a bit of elixir here and there, and I'm a little... I wonder how much he's leaked already throughout the game, and that can add up, especially given that he threw a fireball at the ground early on.
Yep.
I mean, they're played even right now, but you have a pretty impressive 12 elixir push coming across, and there doesn't seem to be as much for defense.
Nice. Barbarians in the back line will take down the Musketeer and do good work onto the Ice Wizard, but now the Giant...
They lose a lot of damage, though.
Yeah. The cannon was well placed. Giant took double tower damage.
This kind of goes back to what we were saying. The Giant has so much more hit points than the Royal Giant that you can actually sit there and let them play a swarm counter, arrow it, and still have plenty of hit points left to finish your push.
And take a look at what's happening to Frodonoth's top right tower.
Wow!
Oh my God!
Down! Scrazzer puts together an incredible push. It's crazy how the arrowing on the Skeleton Army gave him so much tempo.
And I never noticed this at first, but look at the health on Scrazzer's towers.
Oh, it's immaculate. It's pristine. I mean, another thing to think about is look at how little Mr. Frodonoth can deal with a giant if the Skeleton Army gets killed. I mean, you got an Ice Wizard, barely does damage, slows it, but whatever. Knight doesn't do that much damage. Musketeer doesn't do much damage. It looks like Mr. Frodonoth is throwing the game with 10 seconds left. I mean, 10 seconds left. He knows he can put together the push, and he's just casting his spells
At a
to
max
signify
health
a
tower,
forfeit.
plus cannon, plus elixir collector,
Yep.
plus you're playing giant slow card. You just...
Scrazzer takes game one of the top 8. Now, what's interesting is that the round of 8, these first rounds we're seeing, are potentially the most valuable in the whole tournament because
it gets you into the money.
it gets you into the money. Only top 4 players will get super magical chests. The top 8 all earn super magical points that go to the top 8 leaderboard, which we might actually want to. I don't know if we want to show that right now.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the leaderboard that we have.
To update everyone, we have everyone in the top 8. So all 8 players you've already seen in the bracket are going to earn super magical points and move them further up the leaderboard. Some of these people, like Mr. Frodonoth, Raintown, are going to, and Malcade, are going to earn more points and move farther up. We haven't added this week's points in just yet because we want to see the top 8 play out.
So interesting to note that last week, Mr. Frodonoth's performance was also only in the round of 8.
Yes.
Right? He did not go into the semi, so he got 100 points. And if he gets defeated by Scrazzer here, it will be a repeat. So the fact that he got to top 8 twice is actually pretty impressive, and he had to go through Jason to do it. But again, he gets stopped at this pass, and then when you compare that to performances of players like Manu Fan and Woody, you know, you can see that how much more valuable it is to get to the semis and then even to the finals. I mean, Woody and Manu Fan are finalists; they're up at thousands of points.
Yeah, I mean, what you're going to see though is both Woody and Manu Fan are in the top 8, so both of them have extended their point lead, and if one or both of them wins again or gets to another final, I mean, we start to get into a discussion of who's the best player in the game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
we'll head back to the match preview.
Take a look at what deck Scler is using. Oh my god, that is a cheap. Oh my god.
What is the cost of this? So this is a mini P.E.K.K.A. Hog cycle deck out of Scler, but we're looking at an average elixir cost of probably what, 3.1 maybe,
really,
like
really
3.0 even. Like this is an incredibly
His
cheap
most
deck.
expensive cards are 4 cost, right?
Mr. Frodo switches, or I can't. No, this is the same deck he played before. Same deck. He's
No,
gonna
no,
stick-
he didn't. He had the skeleton army before.
That's
He
right.
was
That's
playing
right.
a skeleton army deck.
So he's playing, instead of the giant skeleton army deck, he's opted to go with his royal giant beat down as his second choice.
All right, let's take a look at what ends up happening here. Scler versus Frodo. And Scler played fantastic. That was actually pretty impressive.
I'm really impressed. I want to see how quickly this hog cycle deck can truly cycle between all these cards. I mean, Mr. Frodo is definitely playing a slower deck. Lots of 4s, lots of 5s. So it'll be interesting to see if this very cheap deck with an average of 3 elixir cost can really punish him.
I really like the inclusion of the zap there. Give more time for his Spirit Goblins to get extra swings off because they weren't actually slowed up.
Yeah. Let's see. I think he's going to play Mini P.E.K.K.A. against the Ice Wizard. It's a great matchup. Or is he going to fireball the Elixir Collector?
Yep.
I mean, yeah, that level 1 Elixir Collector is
really hurting.
You know, honestly, it only costs like 150 or 400 gold to upgrade it. Like, at least get that thing up to level 2 or 3 so you're not getting taken advantage of in these tournaments. I mean, Mr. Frodo is such a strong player. I think we see him being held back from his full potential in the level of his cards.
Yeah, and it's one of those things when we talk about, hey, you know, when there's a lot of pride on the line, like, oh, I'm super high level with super low level cards, but at the end of the day, you know, when you're playing at a competitive level, you need every little bit to help because you're gonna end up meeting somebody who's good enough to take advantage.
Good counter. I like the zap even. The mini P.E.K.K.A. survives. There's 2 skeletons in front of it to take the shots. I don't think he's gonna make the tower because of the Ice Wizard, but sans Ice Wizard, I think he would have made it.
Now, I remember that Manu Fan was the mini P.E.K.K.A. ninja. He was the one who was super good at sneaking the mini P.E.K.K.A.s into the tower and getting huge amounts of damage.
Yeah, last week, Manu Fan played both decks had Royal Giant and Mini P.E.K.K.A. in it, and that was sort of the trademark of last week. I haven't seen his deck this week.
Oh no! The goblins! But
Great placement. Great placement of those Valkyrie. The Valkyrie and the Musketeer in the back not only halt the push while taking a minimal amount of damage, but create a really good 8 elixir counter push here.
Yep.
This Musketeer may not even have to leave the bridge to shoot that cannon. No, he's gonna
Skeletons, yep. And
Great
skeletons are the #1 way to get an elixir advantage on a troop-to-troop level.
I mean, especially Musketeer, it's a 1 for 4 every time.
Yep.
Will he play another Fireball in the Elixir Collector? Looks like he might.
He's just cycling.
Hard not to. It's a 4 for 5.
He does. That's the thing. The Valkyrie Musketeer was a really solid defense, but Frodo can't punish it hard enough because as long as Scler is getting 1 swing every single time, he's cycling so fast that he has so many attempts at it.
Yeah. A lot more at-bats to that deck. I mean, the thing with the Royal Giant deck, even then, like that cannon, you play it, what's it going to do, right? He's just going to outrange the cannon. He's looking to maybe fireball that whole group of things.
Nice. There we go. P.E.K.K.A. gets 1 more swing. Okay, and the zap to hold the Royal Giant down.
And it kills the Musketeer, most importantly. The Musketeer would have kept attacking if not for that zap taking it out.
Yep. And he does it again. Scler,
Morph Hogs.
his defense is just so... I mean, in the last game, too, his defense was so impeccable.
I mean, I think this is, this is a classic. If you've ever wondered why these really cheap hog decks are at the top of the leaderboard so often, you're seeing why. They're able to cycle between mini P.E.K.K.A.s and hogs faster than the opposing deck can get back to their answer. Like, I only have 1 cannon in my deck.
I actually really like that choice for Scler to hold on to the fireball. He used a zap first.
Oh! Bad play by Scler. Just
no.
dropped Spear Goblins directly into the Valkyrie. Just throwing away 2 elixir.
The timing was
off
bad.
just a little bit.
The timing was off.
Expected the tower to kill it.
I like that choice of Scler to hold that zap because he just wanted to see if Frodo was tempted to play another card into it and then fireball all of that. Just the little things. It's the little things that make all the difference.
And unfortunately, this Valkyrie, I see what he's doing. He's going to go for the fireball.
Oh!
The Ice Wizard for freezies. Now, I believe now that we're in overtime, the game, I don't want to say over because this push could be good, but I do believe that it's only a matter of time until the next fireball.
Yes, he just needs the skeletons and the fireball, and I think he'll do it. He'll do it. You don't pull a Woody. Don't throw the fireball.
Just fire.
Nice. Okay. there.
Steals it. And yeah, I mean, there was a good amount of health left on Scrazer's tower. So
Yeah.
he takes the round 2-0 over Mr. Frodo, advances
Yeah.
into the top 4. Scrazer is at least prized out 1 super magical chest, up to 7, of course, if he wins.
Yeah, and he's a new name. Scrazer is a new name, and he's just on his first performance, pushed right into the semifinals. And I feel like, you know, sometimes when you watch a player, the thing about Clash Royale is when you watch a great player play, they actually make certain other players look a lot weaker than they actually are because you're just so adept at handling defense. I mean, Scrazer, I feel like between the 2 games, his tower took maybe a grand total of 900 to 1,000 damage. If you added up total tower damage done.
Yeah.
It'd be an interesting stat to see, actually. I would love it if Supercell...
Interesting story. You mentioned at the very end there, don't pull a Woody. In last week's finals, we had a situation where we believe Woody could have won by rocketing the tower in overtime, instead opted to cast a defensive fireball and lost with his rocket cast right afterwards, right in the air. So that was a super interesting... we were wondering if maybe Scrazer would have froze for a little bit and missed his opportunity, but nope, took it.
Yep. All right, before we go into this next one, we have 2 more giveaways to do, so we're gonna get started on that next one, and at the beginning of the semis, we'll close that.
Okay.
And then we'll finish off that the penultimate, second to last giveaway. So I'm gonna open the raffle now, and the question is, what do you play Clash Royale on? Tablet, iPhone, iPad, Android, what is it? What is the platform you play Clash Royale on, and why do you prefer it? Or do you have any thoughts? You know, would you prefer, do you like playing with a touch screen? Do you like playing on a big screen? Do you like it smaller? Do you like keyboard, or do you like the mouse, right?
I see a lot of people play on their computers. They play on like
Yeah.
BlueStacks on their PC because they like the mouse and keyboard kind
Yeah.
of feeling. I'm a big touchscreen player. I'm a big mobile gamer.
Yeah.
I play on an iPhone 6 Plus. It's a big, it's the biggest phone you can get.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe some Samsung phones are like that big, but I
Yeah.
like that I have a big screen because it lets me hold it in one hand while still having that touch interface.
Yeah.
I've thought about getting an iPad, like a bigger
Yeah.
iPad,
Yeah.
to play Clash Royale on when I'm playing on stream, but it's hard to get away from the closeness. My one thumb can touch anything on the board.
I feel like the iPad would be perfect if you had a stand that you could mount it on and then just have it be close to you, but not having to really hold the weight of it. But yeah, that's the raffle question. What do you play Clash Royale on, and how do you feel? Do you prefer touch interface or clicking? Very interesting to be. I think it makes a big difference, actually. I feel like they feel very different. So, all right, let's get into our next round of 8 match. It's gonna be, let's take a look at the bracket. It's gonna be Raintown versus Nippon, and Nippon is also a new name. Raintown is one that has made the top 8 before, and whoever wins this will be facing off against Scrazer, which is a tough match as
Oh
we've
yeah,
seen.
I don't want to mess with Scrazer.
Yeah. Raintown versus Nippon. Now, let's take a look at... Raintown is the Rocket Cycle. Or, no, that was Fly Society. Raintown is playing a Royal Giant Mini P.E.K.K.A. So this is Manu Fan-esque in that sense. And he's got double Legendary.
I'll admit that I really like Royal Giant with double Legendary. I mean, the Princess covers it so well. The Royal Giant, or the Ice Wizard, protects the Royal Giant from some of its natural predators, like mini P.E.K.K.A.s and things like that. I'm a big fan of this list. Interesting, though, that he's running... Raintown is running like these sort of cheap cards that help you cycle back to your card, but instead of playing Cannon, playing the more expensive Inferno Tower, hoping to win, I assume, Royal Giant mirror matches.
Yeah.
What's interesting, Nippon is playing as a thing I haven't seen a lot of. I haven't seen a lot of Wizard with Royal Giant, even though it makes sense. It seems like it'd be really good. And Freeze in Royal. I say Freeze a lot against Royal Giant decks, but rarely in the Royal Giant deck.
And interesting to note, too, both his Hog Rider and his Wizard are level 5. His Royal Giant is 8, and his Barbarians are 8. He's like on old school level cap.
Yeah,
his
this
Freeze
is last
only
week's tournament
2.
cap. This isn't even the tournament cap of last time because, level 6 rares would have been it. So, Nippon's definitely facing an uphill battle here. Very skilled player to make the top 8 and earn some super magical points with underleveled cards. I hope it doesn't hurt him in this match.
Yep. Let's take a look and see how this game plays out. All right. bomb tower.
Expensive too. The Nippin's deck is interesting because it has a lot of 4 and 5 cost
Yeah.
cards in it that are normally in Royal Giant decks occupied by 1, 2, 3 cost cards to help you cycle back to
Yeah.
your Royal Giant. I wonder if Nippin's going to find himself in situations where you'd want to cast a Royal Giant, but you can't because your hand's all stuck. And leaking Elixir, which is like obviously not what you want to be doing right now.
Does not know. He doesn't have a good answer to the Princess. Anything he plays will be ticked away.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then
Nice.
with the Fireball right
And
there.
it's one shot. It's not going to leave it.
It's a 4 for 5 with the trade. Here comes in the Mini P.E.K.K.A. Chops, and still an even trade there.
Okay, so Spear Goblin's making its way across, but the Princess got 2 or 3 shots off on the right side tower, and look at how much damage that is.
I mean, already Raintown has a big Elixir advantage. Look, Nippin only has the 6 in his hand while there's 9 pushing down in his tower. Great timing on the barbs. That's exactly like kind of how and where you want to play the barbs. You want to surround it, not play them all in front.
Yeah, but the Princess's splash is so enormous that it's still going to hit all 4. Maybe a zap.
Might even kill all 4. Yeah, until the Fireball took it out. I think the Princess would have killed that entire squad of Barbarians otherwise.
Yeah. And Raintown's going to feel pretty comfortable about being able to take down all the Barbarians before they got any swings and forcing Nippin to play the Fireball.
Great. So Raintown's probably building up his next push. He's only got a Mini P.E.K.K.A. to build around. I like that he was going to play it back there for a push, but now I wish he had it up by the river. Great timing on the Inferno Tower. It's distracting it right before it would target the tower. The Mini P.E.K.K.A. goes, I mean, unattacked basically, but the Bomb Tower cuts right through those skeletons.
Yeah, Bomb Tower Spear Goblin seems to be a very effective defense for Nippin. I mean, as effective as he can hope.
Let's not underrate this Ice Wizard. Again, he's doing 300 damage.
And
It's
the
not.
thing is, the lower health your tower is, the more valuable this chipping damage is going to be.
I mean, if you have less than 1,000, 200 damage is significant. You don't want to mess with that at all.
Nice. Hog Rider's going to get one.
Oh, good freeze.
How did I miss that? I didn't even see that Nippin had freeze. Oh yeah, we did because it's
We
level
did
2.
because it's a Royal Giant freeze deck.
Yep.
Yeah, and also the freeze is 2 levels below what it could be at the tournament cap.
Yeah, maybe 1 extra swing.
He's getting used to it though, because after this tournament update.
Oh,
there it knocks it down. As after this most recent balance update, it is going to be like a level 2 freeze.
Yeah. It's important, man. That extra second is an extra swing.
It'll be really interesting to see how the meta changes. Wow, great. The Ice Wizard normally doesn't die to Fireball, but had a little bit of damage on him from the Barbarians, and that was able to finish him off, cut that push out before. Raintown opting to go to the left side push, and again, that as long as he's holding Inferno Tower, he does not fear the Royal Giant.
Yeah.
It's not something to be concerned about.
Yeah. You really need to play Royal Giant in combination with other cards and try to change up the ordering of how they come across the bridge if you want to surpass the Inferno Tower with your Royal Giant card.
And that's probably the best hard counter to Royal Giant in the game.
Yeah. The Inferno
Blocks
Tower.
all the damage. Yeah, all the damage on your tower. I'm surprised we haven't seen that card get adopted more than it has been.
Raintown makes good work of Nippin.
Great elixir trades early in the match that were able to really just climaxed around mid game when he used that elixir advantage to take the tower down and then just played defensively afterwards.
All right, let's take a look at the second match, and Nippin is actually going to change his decks up to Golem Rocket.
This is the Rocket. I bet you the Rocket is a card that he rarely actually plays.
He just holds it.
It just holds it.
And you know, actually, when I'm thinking about it, that's actually very important because Golem gets a few opportunities to get on your opponent's tower, but not necessarily.
You don't get 5 golem pushes. You get like 3.
And then if it's just barely, if you're at that point where the tower is barely down, that Rocket could make a difference.
That is the biggest weakness of golem decks is when if there's only 30 seconds left in the game, you can't take a tower, right? You need a whole minute or so. So I think that the Rocket's probably there just for extremely rare situations like a big push you just want to wipe out and then use to finish off towers. I mean, I do love the Wizard and Baby Dragon to back up the golem. That's a strong AoE, sort of push.
A good set of units. The Baby Dragon is
Raintown is required to switch his deck up.
Yeah.
Still playing a Royal Giant deck.
He doesn't have the Princess.
Right.
He
still has he kept looks like Fireball, Ice Wizard, Mini P.E.K.K.A. Royal Giant. Because he didn't have cannon, right? He had Inferno Tower, so now he has cannon. He has Valkyrie goblins instead of skeletons, and then minions instead of whatever else he had.
And that might actually hurt him in the sense that Golem is present in this deck, and then in the other deck he still has a Royal Giant. Nippin does.
It's a very good point, and that's right. He can't play an Inferno Tower in either of these games.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes.
Yep. Let's see. Nippin versus Raintown. 1-0 in Raintown's favor, and he's looking to make himself, put himself in the position to collect even more super magical points. And right now, on the path to the semis.
Raintown does not have an Elixir Collector in this build, so Nippon starting off with an Elixir Collector is really good. Raintown playing his Valkyrie in the back essentially signals he's not going to punish you for playing that Elixir Collector. He's just going to let it happen and try to build up a big push of his own. Great Fireball in that it hits 3 different units. They happen to be under leveled, so it even does more than you might expect in terms of damage. But that Baby Dragon halts the rest of the push without taking any damage himself. Really good.
Yep. Oh, one of the Spear Goblins survives, and that's going to make him play the minions. And if he didn't, that Spear Goblin could have gotten a lot of damage.
Wow, Wizard does not kill the minions with one head attack. With one hit.
Yeah, his level 5. Yep. It actually really hurts.
Yeah, I can imagine. That Wizard, gotta get that Wizard level 6. Maybe if Nippon wins this round and wins the Super Magical chest, he'll have the ability to get some gems.
To upgrade his, ooh, nice Valkyrie. Pretty good value. Ends up taking down all the Barbarians.
So a minute and 10 seconds in the game, we're about even. Only chip damage on either tower. Nippon's got to really think about where he wants to play this Elixir Collector because he knows he doesn't really want to play it within Fireball range.
But he needs the opportunity to play as Golem because currently he's just had no opportunities to do so, and I don't think this time
he probably should have played the Golem right there. I mean, the Bomb Tower is not going to be a good play because the Royal Giant's going to outrange it.
Yep. Just the ordering of...
Even the order, like if you would have done it in the reverse order by playing the Golem first and then now playing the Bomb Tower as across the river, at least the Bomb Tower would have been attacking the Royal Giant back. Yeah. And unfortunately, that mini P.E.K.K.A is just chopping up the Golem before it goes anywhere.
And this is what's super important about positioning. The Spear Goblins are wasting their time attacking the Royal Giant. Meanwhile, this backline is making short work of the Golem, and it's in the advantage of Raintown, just in the sense that Nippon is having a very, very hard time getting his Elixir in order, and the Golem is a very hard card for him to come by.
I mean, he lost 8 Elixir on that push. The Golem didn't really do anything. Didn't kill any units. Didn't really blow up on anything. And he took, 1,000 damage on his target. Now, we were talking about that maybe this very special rocket times. He was able to, take out most of a Valkyrie, hit the tower, and kill a mini P.E.K.K.A. That is a great value. Is it enough to get it back in the game? We'll see.
It's an excuse for him to cycle on the tower.
Yep. Nippon though. All right, gonna go with the split push here.
Okay. This is a pretty
because mini P.E.K.K.A is what killed it last time, and there's no reason to believe that he wouldn't just get mini P.E.K.K.A again.
Yeah, and there it is. Interesting choice. Barbarians onto the Royal Giant.
Great timing on the Barbarian by Nippon. I mean, I really like the Barbarians there. Unfortunately, the Fireball, clears most of them out.
And tags onto the Baby Dragon.
But I don't think that was an incorrect play by Nippon to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think his hand is being forced. Oh, double Ice Wizard.
Those Ice Wizards might do the damage without the Giant ever even attacking. Yeah.
Yep.
Congrats, Raintown, on winning 2-0 and advancing to the top 4. I believe that is his first... Or no, it's his second top 4 finish. He's finished in the top 4 in a previous Super Magical Cup.
Let's take a look at his points. We'll figure out.
He was at least in the top 4 because he had 250. Yeah.
So
he finished in the top 4 prior. So this means he at least doubles his points up to 500 Super Magical points. And of course, that can go even higher should he win the game.
Yeah.
Should he win the whole event, rather.
Oh, no, there's a spoiler in brackets.
Yeah, we can't show the bracket right now.
Yep. All right, let's
go watch these
that
games.
game. Yeah, let's watch that game. And remember, the raffle will be closed when we reach the semifinals. And if you guys need a reminder of what the question is, the current raffle is: what do you play Clash Royale on? Tablet, iPhone, iPad, Android, and what do you prefer? Thoughts on touch as opposed to mouse, as opposed to big screen, small screen? What is it that you like? All right. Let's go ahead and talk about Manu Fan versus Malade. Manu Fan is a player that I think, collectively agree is really, really, really good.
I mean, this is a star-studded top 8 match because this is a repeat of a top 4 match from last week. Malade and Manu Fan are both, I believe, in like the top 5 or top 6 of our Super Magical leaderboard. So these are some of the most consistent threats in the Super Magical Cup. Manu Fan is actually playing a different deck than what he had last week. Malade, we watched earlier, still playing the Hog Zap Fireball that we saw earlier. See what's going on with Manu Fan. What he's changed from last week is he now has an Inferno Tower, which I believe is there to counter all the other Royal Giant decks. You could even argue that Manu Fan helped popularize Royal Giant with him having 2 of the 3 Royal Giant decks in the top 8 from last week. I really like the Valkyrie here too.
Yeah.
Great defense.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that Manu Fan has neither arrows nor Fireball.
He's just going on Zap.
How does he kill princesses? Like he's got to. I guess he has to use his princess, right? Opposing princesses.
Yeah.
And how is he going to kill something like Minion Horde that comes up on his Royal Giant? Very interesting.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Manu Fan versus Malade. The return of the current champion, Manu Fan. And he doesn't have a mini P.E.K.K.A in his deck, so...
That's right, after last week playing mini P.E.K.K.A in both decks, has opted to replace it looks like mini P.E.K.K.A with Valkyrie in this week.
Mm-hmm. Sitting
Both
at 10.
sitting, thinking.
What is your response? Oh, nice. Actually, I wasn't sure if that was going to pull. Double towers.
It did pull, and sits around with about half health left. What's interesting is that Malade, you know, if Malade is running a Royal Giant deck, this would be a great opportunity to push because the Inferno Tower is going to be committed. But I think Manu Fan is going off of last week's information and assuming this is a Hog Rider deck, especially after seeing the Hog Rider.
Yeah.
You usually don't see Hog Rider and Royal Giant in the same deck.
Yep.
He's trying to decide between Valkyrie and minions. Opts with minions. Oh, okay, we're going to cover the Royal Giant push. Unfortunately, that Zap... Oh, wow, Zap plus Ice Wizard took out those minions. Doesn't stop the Barbarians, but it looks like he's just comfortable letting the Royal Giant get a little bit of damage in.
4 Elixir to defend the Barbarians plus Archers. This is going to hurt.
He looks like he's going to save the Valkyrie. Pulls him back, which I really like.
Nice.
Was able to chop up the Archers very quickly. And even survives to help fight, well, Hog Rider.
Yeah, I really like that positioning. If he had changed that positioning just a little bit and the Barbarians got into the Valkyrie just a little bit quicker, that would have been a very different story, but the timing was perfect.
A little bit of synergy you might have picked up there on the replay. When the Goblins came behind the Valkyrie, they actually started pushing the Valkyrie at fast speed.
Yeah.
That is a common thing that happens when slow units start to hold up faster units, is the faster units push them from behind. I don't know if you noticed, but Manu Fan was able to sneak in just a few hundred damage with the Goblins behind the Valkyrie because of that extra speed, and that's... every little bit of damage adds up.
Yep.
We see it near the end of this game. Malade's left tower sitting at around 200, 150 damage. We'll know the difference there was the Goblins.
Nice, and I like this because now the Royal Giant is doing the damage and the counter push is ruined just because the Ice Wizard plus Princess in the back line. That's the synergy that you were talking about. Double Legendaries works real well with the Royal Giant, and now he's just supplementing it with the Valkyrie to tank the tower. Great
placement with the Valkyrie by being just ahead of the Ice Wizard so that it tanks all the damage from the tower. That low health Ice Wizard actually got a few more shots in. Manu Fan is such a strong player. His mechanics are just on point all the time.
His timing has been really, really good on defense and on offense. I mean, his game plan with the Royal Giant and then the Valkyrie added on top is just complex pushes that he's putting together.
I love how he countered after the first time seeing the Barbarians adapting to that play, and the next time he did the push with both splash units behind it, so that those Barbarians were chopped up really before anything really mattered.
Yeah.
And this time, knowing that the Barbarians that these pushes would be stopped, he has the
Valkyrie.
Well, he has the Valkyrie directly behind it in order to continue that tanky push. Really good placement, though, from Malade. The Barbarians are blocking the Inferno Tower, allowing that Hog to get pretty much all of its damage in unattacked.
Yeah, and the Goblins are going to be able to clean this up pretty well.
And unfortunately, Zap was the very next card for Malade. If he had that Zap in his hand, he might have been able to Zap and get even more damage in.
But the cycling was just a little bit awkward for him.
And again, you can see the Princess doing work on those Archers, just taking out Archers essentially for free while attacking the tower.
Yep, and now working on the Barbarians, and he has a Valkyrie to put in front. He's not gonna do so. Manu
Fan seems to be winning all of these exchanges. Like, if this game were to go on indefinitely, I feel like Manu Fan would do more damage. But in overtime, it only takes one good Hog push to knock that tower down. We all know Hog Riders can do 1,000 damage. That is not... an unbelievable
and
push.
Currently the card cycling is very much in favor of Manu Fan, just in the sense that every time the Hog comes up, he has the Inferno Tower up, and so far Malade hasn't been able to do anything to convince him otherwise.
Great counterplay, though, by Malade by having the minions up early. He saw the Valkyrie, he knew the Royal Giant was coming, he played the minions before the Royal Giant was even cast, and it ended up doing a lot of preemptive damage and saving that tower. Is it enough to win on the counter push? I don't know, but if he did that every single time, his tower would not be at 300 damage.
Yeah. Yep. And now this might be the penultimate push to Royal Giant. Nice. The Cannon plus the Barbarians are going to be enough to take down the Royal Giant. But now he needs to think about, okay, good Fireball on a Princess. I really like the way Malade is playing out the situation.
I mean, those minions keep dodging Fireballs. I don't know if you notice it. Manu Fan's playing his minions up a little bit in the combat, and every time the Fireball is coming on the back line.
This time, actually, Malade missed his opportunity to play his Hog Rider, and now he's having to have one deck slot, or rather one card slot filled up by the Hog Rider because he didn't cycle it out.
Great play with the Valkyrie ahead. It not only tanked damage, but look how much it did to those Barbarians, which lets the Royal Giant not just kill the Giant, but then also push through the final damage. So Manu Fan takes game 1 of the series with just a very methodical, just grindy, smart play. I really like that.
I feel like the thing that Manu Fan is doing that is really, really kind of changing up the success that he has is the fact that he just small differences. He's playing the same push essentially, but then small difference. Royal Giant, then Valkyrie after the Royal Giant's done. And then changing up his back line, minions instead of Princess to try to burst down the units. And then finally the Valkyrie in front of the Royal Giant, and then the Barbarian counter wasn't so effective anymore.
Yeah. I'm really excited about this game. I said in the pre-show that Miner was a card that was really strong in tournament play. Miner is getting buffed with the next balance update, but I find it to be a very strong card in tournaments right now. I'm really excited to see how a very skilled player like Manu Fan can use the Miner to his advantage. I don't see a ton of great opportunities for the Miner. I think the two major things that Miner is good against is Elixir Collector and Princess, and Malade has neither of them. But I do think you'll see the Miner provide like a surprise tank for the Mini P.E.K.K.A., for the Spear Goblins, for maybe a zapped minion horde that would normally die to a tower. The Miner can push back and tank for them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great uses for that card. I'm excited to see how Manu Fan uses it, if it's effective against a deck that really doesn't have a lot of good targets for it. And of course, I want to see if Malade can adapt against this very different deck. No more Royal Giant in Manu Fan's deck.
Yeah.
If Malade can adapt.
And Manu Fan was so into the Royal Giant. I mean, both his decks were Royal Giant decks in the last week.
This time decided to switch it up a little bit.
Yep. Let's see how flexible he is as a
Starts
player.
with Miner and Princess in the opening hand.
We'll see how he employs them. Maybe Princess in the back is usually a good choice.
Princess in the back is neat because if they're ever going to, I just really thinking about it, maybe leaking an elixir. Wow, did not leak the elixir. I don't know if you saw that. Really good. The cannon there. The fireball did hit, the Princess and it, but because it was fired before the cannon came out, didn't see it. Great placement though by Manu Fan. Actually did get both towers shooting it. That's something we see a lot with our cannon placements, is they're not always working like that.
Yeah.
Here comes the Miner, as we're talking about. The Miner provides a sudden tank and it draws them back. It draws them away from the tower.
Ninja Peck. Oh god, I believe Manu Fan.
Manu Fan, that is absolutely one of his trademarks in this game, is the ability to sneak a mini P.E.K.K.A. behind opposing defenses.
He had Zap on hand.
Well, notice that actually Malade played his Zap already, which gives the minion horde great defense. He's got to figure out what he's going to do.
Yeah. Manu Fan had the Zap. He actually could have zapped those goblins, got his mini P.E.K.K.A. onto the tower if he wanted to. Maybe that's what he's now.
I think Manu Fan's trying to set up that lethal attack. So I would imagine that he doesn't want to just tip his whole hand super early. Like if you're only going to do it for another 100 or so damage, it's more valuable to get it for far more damage.
Yeah. He wants to make sure that he scores big when he commits his whole elixir bar.
Great timing, by the way, in the defense. If you notice, the Hog Rider died right as the hammer was up in the air, but not before. Didn't get a swing off.
Yep.
What I really love about Spear Goblins, you can just cast them for 2 elixir, and they run up to a tower and do like 200-300 damage.
You're not too far behind.
It's interesting, though, if you keep doing that feint, if you're like Spear Goblins, and they don't counter, Spear Goblins, they don't counter, then you can do that and actually open up with a Miner, and suddenly they're taking like 750 or 1,000 damage if they don't react.
Yeah.
Fireball takes out the Elixir Collector, but leaves the Princess unharmed.
Interesting. I feel like you do not want this tower to be ticked down at all. Mini P.E.K.K.A. plus the cannon.
It's going to pull everything there. I think the Zap is hopefully going to buy a little time. Looks like he opts not to Zap. I'm surprised that Mini P.E.K.K.A. is just living.
Yeah, this is pretty tanky. Here
comes the Miner again and behind. I really like the place. Can he zap those goblins back there? He does.
Oh!
Now, unfortunately, the minions stop the extra damage from the Spear Goblin. But I mean, the Zap and the Miner did chunk in another 300, 400.
And the Miner does do reduced damage to the tower health, but it's still damage.
Yeah.
It's not like a lava hound.
I mean, I will say that just casting a Miner into a tower is a pretty terrible play. It's not efficient. I mean, if you were just going to cast 3 elixir into a tower, you're better off fireballing it than you are just casting a Miner, really. But what's nice about it is that it's at worst a fireball that requires you to react in some way. Like, he has to react.
He's making a big call out. There's no Zap. There's no fireball.
There's a Zap. Oh, the Zap is used on the archers, but not on the goblins. But it doesn't matter. It lets the minion horde get close enough to do a ton of damage.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. You saw some Miner tricks right there.
Yep. Close cannon, and in the heat of the moment, you can see that the cannon placement wasn't exactly perfect, but the Miner, and now this is dangerous. This is what we're talking about. Once your tower health is low, you're gonna start playing more inefficient defenses.
The Miner takes it out. Great combination with Miner and Zap there. He played archers first. Now the Miner was attacking the archers, but Manu Fan used Zap to finish off one archer, put the other archer to half health. The Miner then finished off the second archer and got to swing 2 to 3 times on the tower. Miner plus Zap for 5 elixir can really pull off a lot of good trades.
I really like that deck. That deck
a lot of
was
fun.
Nice.
I mean, that's the first time we've seen Miner at all in the Super Magical Cup, and we're seeing it in the top 8. So what a great time to see it. Is that a 2-0 win for Manu Fan?
Yeah, I believe that was a 2-0 win for Manu Fan.
And I believe that leaves the last round of the top 8 is former Last week's finalist, Woody, against newcomer Titan Zeus.
Yeah, let's take a look at the match preview. Now, Woody has a Royal Giant deck and then has a Mortar deck.
He had a Royal Giant deck last week.
If it wasn't a mistake, his Mortar deck has Sparky in it. And if
I believe that
true,
was a mistake.
Okay, yeah.
I don't believe he's playing the Mortar Sparky deck. I think because we did see the other Mortar deck. We saw like a normal Mortar deck with Rocket.
Okay.
Yeah. So it looks like Woody is playing the Royal Giant deck that looks very similar to what it was last week. I think there's only one card difference in there. I'm just not sure. Maybe it was like Skeletons became Zap or something like that. Otherwise, it's a very, very similar deck to what he played last week, with Mortar being his other deck. Titan Zeus has a what we've been calling the Trifecta Freeze deck, right? The Valkyrie, Hog Rider, Musketeer with Elixir Collector, Freeze, and Arrows. It's a little off of the standard list because it's playing goblins instead of skeletons or whatever, but this is absolutely recognizable as that sort of deck.
Yep. Let's take a look and see how Woody does against Titan Zeus.
And again, a classic matchup. This is one of the most common things you see on the ladder. You see Royal Giant beatdown decks against the Trifecta Freeze deck all the time. I mean, this is probably the most common matchup.
Interaction.
Yeah. So being able to learn how, as a Royal Giant player, not to walk into a big freeze is actually really hard, because if you consider that one of the most common pushes you like to do is Barbarians and Royal Giant, maybe backed up by an Ice Wizard. You can get all of that in a single freeze radius, and you're just asking to get blown out. So we have the whole trifecta coming down right now.
Minions.
The Ice Wizard has proven so good against Hog Rider. One attack.
Hog Rider's gonna get about 3.
Great freeze though. Man, it feels like more than 3. 4? 5? Wow. Great freeze. And that's kind of what we're talking about. As soon as he played Barbarians, it all came down. And the nice thing is that Woody can counter and not have to worry about freeze right now.
Yeah, yep. And this is going to be really dangerous. Barbarians surrounding a Royal Giant is a great combination, and the Goblins are just going to get chewed up. And
chewed up instantly.
Woody finds a way. The Princess in the back, too. And he still doesn't have freeze on hand.
And this is when we talk about the importance of counter pushing. I mean, that was 12 elixir that came down from Titan's side, and I don't believe that 12 elixir was spent on the defense, right? I feel like it was actually more than that. It was 12 plus 16 because you got to count the freeze being used.
And take a look at that. Zeus is empty, and Woody still has a full elixir bar.
And that Valkyrie's not going anywhere. It looks like the minions are going to get pulled between the two towers, though. It looks like they probably aren't going to do any damage. Why not? One attack or two.
Yeah. Now the question is, they're pretty even health. You can push the King Tower if you want, or you can push the left side tower.
What's wild to me is it's almost easier to 3-crown him than it is to take his other tower at this point.
Yeah, especially because you can put your units into their drop
Titan has a great freeze right now, but nothing to follow it up with. He actually had freeze, but with Elixir Collector and Hog Rider in his hand, what do you do after the freeze?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, wasn't able to get the Royal Giant in there as well.
Oh, the Ice Wizard doesn't get taken down. Royal Giant finally gets worked through, and he has to spend his arrows not on the Princess, but on the Ice Wizard.
Expert play by Woody right now. I mean, this is a very dominant performance in this game so far.
Yeah.
The Ice Wizard, Ice Wizard and Princess combined seem to stop everything. For 6 elixir, have you seen like a more useful defense? Like, stop Hog Riders, Royal Giants, everything. I like the Royal Giant placed on the river right there. If you play the Royal Giant...
Oh, wow, that freeze is actually pretty... Wow. That's a big freeze.
Simply 1 or 2 clicks from the river allows the Royal Giant to attack the left tower, but not take damage from the King Tower. Notice the King's not attacking at all.
Yep.
Wow,
and 2 towers
Woody goes
down,
up 2-0 with 28 seconds left. I don't see how Titan makes a comeback here.
Yeah, Woody is so... Just certain things about how he sets up his offense, whether it's with Mortar or whether it's with the Royal Giant, is just there's some amount of detail and attention. He just seems to know how to place his units.
He puts together expert counter pushes too. I mean, like I said, we saw just from the very early game, Titan committed to a 16 elixir push, of which 8 of that elixir doesn't kill anything. Like Freeze and Hog Rider doesn't by itself kill anything. Yeah. So with 16 elixir, you really got to take a tower, and only doing, let's say, 1,500 damage to the tower for 16 elixir, it means less than 100 damage per elixir committed. He's really got punished on the counter push.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So just as a reminder, guys, this is
the final match of the top 8, right?
Yeah. So once this between Woody and Titan finishes, we're closing out the raffle, and the question is, what do you play Clash Royale on? Tablet, iPhone, iPad, Android, and why? Do you like touch versus mouse? Do you like big screen versus small screen? Tell us all about it. ! Raffle space your answer. And we'll be closing that out after we find out whether Titan or Woody moves on. All right, so here is Woody's Mortar deck, and you're absolutely right. There's no Sparky, no matter how badly I wanted to see it. And it would have been awesome to know that Woody made the top 8 with Sparky, but it's not the case. He's just got
a mistaken deck. He actually, I think that I know what it was. I think that was a fake deck that he held so that people couldn't look at him in clan chat and see what deck he was playing.
Yeah.
And then he actually went into his real deck.
Yeah.
So I mean, we know that Woody is a very skilled Mortar player. I would say that he probably has the advantage here in game 2 simply because Mortar is his more popular, more known deck, and I would suspect that a lot of people are not ready for a Mortar deck. Like, how often do you see them anymore? On the other hand, it's worth mentioning that Titan's trifecta deck is very strong against Mortar because you have both Musketeer, Barbarians, Valkyrie, and Hog Rider, all of which are pretty strong counters to a Mortar, not to mention, of course, you can freeze it.
Yeah. And Woody is going to be very comfortable playing this. It's interesting that he even led with his Royal Giant deck rather than his Mortar deck.
Yeah, I remember, if you remember last week, he actually had the reverse situation where he won game 1 with a Mortar, won game 1 with the Royal Giants, the same as he used to.
Yeah.
But he gets put in a situation where he's got to win 2 games in a row with a Mortar deck, and sometimes against opponents with Royal Giants. And that's one of the most straight up hard counters.
Yeah. Here comes the Mortar. Onto the Musketeer. Doesn't move fast enough. Nice. And the splash too. Oh, he tried to get the Musketeer but missed it.
Did end up taking out with the second shot, but I see what he was trying to do there. Wanted to take out the Musketeer and the Elixir Collector to clear the path for Mortar just to lock onto the tower.
Nice. And the Princess substitute for the Mortar. Hey, the Mortar's down. You do the job.
My favorite Mortar deck was Princess, Mortar, and Goblin Hut. So you had 3 separate cards that just harassed a tower. Yeah, you just could never, like, your lane was just perpetually under harassment, which is really great. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
So a minute in, Titan he's gotten over the hardest part. He's seen the first Mortar.
Yeah.
He knows there's a Mortar coming. And the question now is how much damage can be read. Is that Elixir Collector close enough to even take the shots? Like, for example, is that Elixir Collector played too far off to the left?
I feel like, well, you can see that the Mortar from Woody, the Mortar from Woody is actually not on the road. It's actually intentionally put to the side.
I think actually, I can't confirm this. I have to take a look. I think the range changes that they added, where they redid everything's range in the last update, I think gave Mortar like a half square extra of range. I'm not exactly sure if take a look at it, but I feel like you can play because it highlights when you're placing the Mortar if it'll attack. I feel like the Mortar has more positions to attack the tower now after the update than it did before. But that might just be speculative. I didn't play a lot of Mortar.
Yeah. My God. This is just...
Great era. I mean, great eras. You got to stop the Princess, right? But Woody has the tempo right now. He's just... I mean, where's the Hog Rider? Here's a big question for you. Why play the Elixir Collector into the Hog Rider? Like, why even bother with that?
Yeah.
Why not just cast your Hog Rider?
Yeah.
You had it in your hand. Hog Rider's going to run right at the Mortar. It's going to kill it.
Yeah. And now you've just lost both your Elixir Collectors for a more expensive cost, and you're taking more damage. The Mortar is getting more effectiveness.
I think this is Titan's probably unfamiliarity with Mortar decks. I think he's playing a little scared, playing a little too defensive for what he needs to be doing. If he was playing a little more aggressively against the Mortar, trying to attack the Mortars when they come up, they can do a better place. I mean, siege decks that sit on their side of the board and don't come over and attack you like this Mortar deck does. He's doing that because he has a rocket.
Yeah.
He's playing on their side because he's got a rocket.
Yeah.
But the thing is that these decks are worse, at their absolute worst, against beatdown decks that can come over and threaten you. Because when you play a big juicy Mortar on your side of the river, the decks that can be like, all right, let's come over and fight that.
Oh my goodness.
Are the best advantage.
This is just
Titan's not playing.
That Princess on the right, just look at how much damage Woody is doing to the left side tower. Just that 3 Elixir commitment to the right side, and he's gonna rocket that.
Yeah, he's got Rocket, Zap, he's got Princess. I mean, there's nothing that Titan can do to stop one or both towers going down in the next few seconds.
Yep,
It's
it's
probably
time
just gonna
for the
cycle
cycle.
skeletons. Yeah, and there's the Rocket. He freezes, but I don't think it's enough. He's clearly waiting on the Rocket.
Yep, there he goes. He
Crazy,
didn't forget it.
Look how much damage that is, though. Whoa! Fair, Woody. You know, we made fun of Woody last week for holding on the Rocket and not just going for it, but once again, he might have...
He needed to do that a little bit quicker.
Yeah. I mean, Woody definitely wants to be sure, but it looked like he was maybe taking a speculative...
Yeah, it's just the moment before you leave.
So Woody 2-0s again. Another... So, wow, crazy. The entire top 8 round were all 2-0 victories by the winning players.
Yeah.
You can see there is definitely a very high caliber of play here in the Super Magical Cup.
Yeah. 3 returning names. The only new one is Scler, and Scler is playing amazingly.
What's crazy is that these aren't just the same, like three of the top 4 have returned from prior Super Magical Cups, but they're doing this over a 128 person field. This is not some small 16 or 32 person event. These are large triple digit numbers of players, and yet these same players are just chopping through the field into the top 4. Incredible.
Yep. All right, let's take a look. We're going to close out the raffle and find the next 3 winners.
And then we get right into the top 4, the cash rounds, the money rounds.
We get into some, and this is exactly like Rumham mentioned, is the money, right? The difference between third, fourth, and second place is huge. And then winning first place, yeah, $100. Wow. All right, our first winner is going to be Ice Tea Miners. Ice Tea Miners. And Ice Miners says, iPhone, small, nice screen. So prefers a small screen. And one of the things for me that I feel like is tough with small phone screens is just that my fingers end up blocking the screen, and sometimes I can't. I want to hover and see if the opponent plays a card, and then my finger is blocking it, and I just can't see what happens.
Right.
And then bad things happen. So. All right, our next winner is going to be Sako506. He says iPhone and Android tablet.
Oh, we got a cross-platform player.
He's got both the Apple and the Android. And yeah, I actually, a lot of people tell me that the client might run a little bit better on the Apple devices.
I feel like the touch interface is at least in my experience, it's a little more responsive on iOS, but. Yeah. My brother is a computer software engineer, and he's a very devout Android user, and he thinks it's all in my head. So
yeah. And we have FNC Zilrock, and he says Android because I think it's the best. He just likes Android devices. I like Android devices too, but I'm not too afraid of trying Apple. But there you go, the 3 winners for the second to last giveaway. We still have one more, guys. We still have one more giveaway at the end of the stream, and as usual, I feel like this should always be the last giveaway question. Ask Rumham anything.
Any question, and I'll tell you what: if you don't have a great question to ask, you want to enter the raffle, but you can't think of a great question, tell me what your favorite balance change is from the balance changes that were announced earlier today. There's, I think, 10 changes or so. So if you can't think of a good question, but you still want to enter the raffle, just tell me what your favorite upcoming balance change is going to be, buff or nerf. We'll talk about that.
Cool. So either ask Rumham any question or balance changes. What's your favorite? Make sure that if you're an Apple Store user, we can only fulfill out to the United States. If you're Google Play, we can do any location. So just keep that in mind. If you do not fulfill those requirements, you may still enter the raffle, but we just can't prize you. We just can't give out the prizing to those locations. So. That being said, the last giveaway will not be open quite yet. It will be open during the finals. So,
yes.
So once we do the finals, that's when we'll do our last giveaway. All right. All right. Semifinals. We're ready to do some live viewing.
This is fun. I always really enjoy live viewing the live spectating the matches because we don't necessarily know what deck they're starting off and playing, and we get to see them we get to use the live spectating interface where we shows all 8 cards in their deck, and we see them revealed one by one.
Yeah. Oh, I nearly clicked friendly man.
Very excited. They're getting ready. The Raintown and Scrazzer are getting ready to start their match right now.
I'm super excited. Scrazzer. I'm super excited to see how far he can go.
I always like to see
Scrazzer versus Manu Fan is kind of the matchup that I want to see right now.
I mean, this is the main point of the Super Magical Cup. We're trying to find the best talent in Clash Royale, and here maybe Scrazzer is a new name on the scene we've never seen before.
Yep. All right, I leave you in control of the confetti.
Oh, I'm a confetti master. So, pretty nice little information gathering open early on. The 2 Elixir Spear Goblins isn't really much of a commitment at all. You sort of see how he's going to react. Great counter push there, but I like the Mini P.E.K.K.A. Zap by Scrazzer that really chops down the Royal Giant before he gets too much damage, and less than 500 damage.
I like the positioning of his goblins. The Ice Wizard was hitting the Mini P.E.K.K.A., but the goblins were placed so that it wouldn't get splashed by the Ice Wizard.
The Mini P.E.K.K.A. tanking for the Royal Giant's kind of funny because it's not a great tank, but it did the job there against the relatively low damage Princess. Oh, Scrazzer, no! No! Oh, I'm gonna...
Wait, wasn't Scrazzer the one who did that in the first match we saw and he still won it?
He's got the slipperiest fingers in town. Great counter, though. He was able to use his skeletons to kill the princess. Sometimes the skeletons displace the princess and the princess shoots them and it ends up being a wasted 1 elixir. Hopefully he's able to come back in the game with that. That is a very unfortunate misclick.
Yeah.
It's a game of inches. So here we go. We got Mini P.E.K.K.A. and Ice Wizard coming up the right side. Pretty imposing push.
Now.
But we do have a Fireball on Scrazzer's side. Let's see if he uses it. Well-timed cannon to help block some of the damage. The Zap plus the Mini P.E.K.K.A. Oh, the Mini P.E.K.K.A kills the enemy Mini P.E.K.K.A, but gets overrun by the
I
skeletons.
actually like that happened.
Yeah.
I like that happened. If the Mini P.E.K.K.A survives, it's just going to run around and do so much damage while the Royal Giant tanks.
Overall, no, not a significant amount of damage to the tower. Yeah. Scrazzer hasn't fallen too far behind with that little misplay. The Ice Wizard countering the Spear Goblins has been great. He's done it a few times now, but at least the Ice Wizard loses about, half of his health when he does that.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get some big damage. I like Ice Wizard against tower. That's a really good...
Here comes a Hog Rider.
All right, Hog Rider. Oh, good defense.
Rejected.
Now, here's the thing is that is 5 elixir to 4 elixir. So while it does stop it, I mean, we just saw Raintown commit 8 elixir to the board, which gives Scrazzer a much more full bar to play with.
Yeah.
Oh, cannon? Seems odd. He wants to hold it in place so the goblins attack, but I don't think the goblins are going to do any damage there.
Maybe he's trying to cycle.
I don't like him leaking elixir. They got to play something.
Nice. Royal Giant in the back to make sure the cannon is dissipated by the time... Oh.
I like the skeletons there because if he doesn't do anything, though, the skeletons will attack the Royal Giant and do a lot of damage to him. Oh, that low health Mini P.E.K.K.A, though, is going to stop the Hog Rider from really doing too much.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the skeletons walked too far, and if you notice, they walked into the tower range of Raintown and never actually... And they did some damage, but they also died.
Yeah. Scrazzer had a good idea, but...
Raintown's Mini P.E.K.K.As are expert at picking off Scrazzer's Mini P.E.K.K.A. Look like this guy. Oh, one chop! Oh, wow, one chop plus the zap is so much damage.
Now he has 20 seconds. He has 20 seconds. Zap is on hand, and it's going to take 2 zaps to take down 81 health. If you're going to the Hog Rider Goblin combination, the skeletons are going to distract the Goblin.
Did Scrazzer just zap or I think Scrazzer just zapped his ground again. Misclicked another one.
I couldn't tell if it hit, but yeah, it did look like it was on the other side.
I think he realized he couldn't make the push, and he's just...
Yeah.
Wow, Raintown. And you know what? The game was so close, it might have come down to just those fireball. Like,
that fireball might have been the difference.
Could have been the difference in a critical push.
Yeah, I think the attempt for Raintown to go for a split, or rather Scrazzer to go for a split push was a good idea, but I think he needed to wait until more cards were committed to the right side. Just even one more card, there was just too much elixir for him to handle on the left. And the big thing about committing to split pushes is what you have to be comfortable with doing is saying that, okay, you know what? I'm confident that my 3 elixir will handle enough of what you do on the right side that I can just trade elixir on the left side and then get big work done. That's what you have to be comfortable with doing.
And also, I think if you're going to split push, you need to be ready. Honestly, you just have to be ready for the counter push. I mean, you know that you're committing, like, say, like 5 elixir or more to each lane separately, that whatever, if the other person overcommits and spends 8 elixir to your 5, you got to be ready to defend that 8 elixir push when it comes back.
Yeah. And,
all right, Raintown and Scrazzer starting game 2 right about now. They just got the little friendly request out.
So Raintown has to swap to his other deck.
That's right, he does.
And I can't remember what his other deck was, but we will see.
No, he will not be playing. Oh, here we go. So Raintown. I also forgot. I'm having a hard time remembering all the decks. Afterwards, I look at the decks and really analyze them and stuff, but it's hard to remember during the stream. So Raintown is going to open up with... Oh, I got the confetti. Let's go Scrazzer. We saw some confetti on Raintown's side. I want Scrazzer to tie this series up.
Yep. Elixir Collector on the back left for Scrazzer.
And once again, the signal of playing the Valkyrie in the back means you're really not going to punish him.
Yep.
I mean, basically, the Royal Giant comes across, and Scrazzer already has a full elixir bar.
And as we saw from Manu Fan, Valkyrie in front of Royal Giant is a good response for a Barbarian defense. Now that Raintown is... he's acknowledged that Barbarians are now a defense that Scrazzer will throw out. I wonder if he'll change up the ordering of his units.
Right. Is this Scrazzer? Did Scrazzer have the Skeleton Army deck, or is that someone else? Oh, and again, Scrazzer!
Oh my God!
He's got the oiliest fingers in town.
Oh my God! I wonder if we went to his place, if we would see his mom's spaghetti on the floor.
Yeah, I'm wondering, he's, you know what? He's always playing safe. He's got. Got Vaseline on his finger so he doesn't cut himself on the glass. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Scrazzer's got to, hopefully he can take the super magical, or the gems that he earned in this week's tournament and buy him some rubber gloves.
Rubber gloves? Oh no.
Oh no.
It's
but then
so
again,
tragic.
Honestly, the last game was not, Fireball could have been the difference, but a Fireball's not going to do 1,000 damage either.
Yeah.
Once again, though, Ice Wizard will kill your Barbarians. Look at this. Look at this. That Ice Wizard even survives. I like the Musketeer defense on Scrazzer's side. He's done a really good job with these Musketeers. Even with the Fireball hitting it like that, it survives and then just starts pushing behind these Giants.
And look at how much effectiveness it's getting right here. We got a good 2 shots, and now the Valkyrie's down.
Yeah, it forces Raintown to play things in the back line. It can't actually focus on
Nice,
killing
big connection for Scrazzer.
And that Musketeer's really shooting the crap out of that
It's
mini-P.E.K.K.A.
still alive. It's still alive. That was valuable.
Finally dies to the tower, but not before taking out the mini-P.E.K.K.A.
We talked about this last week. 2-way cards. Musketeer is one of the best.
Yeah, one of the best 2-way cards in the game. A card that is very effective on defense and equally effective on offense. I mean, Musketeer, I think, is more popular than Wizard for that exact reason. Wizard is a very good defensive card, but because of its low hit points, it's not a very good offensive card. It does less single target damage, so it doesn't do as much to the tower, costs more, and dies quicker.
Yep. And again, he commits that fireball, and I almost
Tanks
feel
are crossing. I actually really like, so I like this. The Valkyrie standing behind, attacking both, and chopping up some of those barbarians as they come through. The mini-P.E.K.K.A. is protected by the Valkyrie, and it was able to chop down the giant. I see a farm. I mean, it feels like more of Raintown's backline support has survived.
And unfortunate, the low health Musketeer is the one that's leading the charge. If it had been the other way around, that low health Musketeer would have gotten really big value. Nice.
So the mini-P.E.K.K.A. is pushing the Valkyrie a little bit. Didn't stay behind him the whole way, but long enough to actually get the Valkyrie tanking for the mini-P.E.K.K.A., forcing the arrow.
And then it pushed past.
And actually, very bad for Scrazzer there. If you notice, the Valkyrie swung once on the Musketeer, which made the fireball now actually finish it off.
And now this push is gonna be really different.
Push from Scrazzer is really strong. If he can take care of those minions, which he can with the arrows, that's a lot of barbarians.
No.
But the Valkyrie holds it off. This is one of the common things you see actually out of that trifecta hog deck, is that Valkyrie is so good against barbarians on defense that even when you think you have a really good push, Valkyrie comes along just to evaporate it away.
And ruins your day. And that was the main thing why that push happened that way, was because the Musketeer was dead.
I would say, honestly, some of the most common things we're seeing out of Raintown's deck is that he is consistently fireballing a tower, and those are adding up over the course of the game.
472, and we are in overtime.
Oh! Nice goblin
That
block.
might be the nail in the coffin.
I think whoa, it is. He's doing so much damage right now. The Musketeer's coming up with full health, and it's blocked by the mini-P.E.K.K.A.
One swing, okay.
But here we
Spear
go.
Goblins.
Can he stop that? Because there is a play. The minions come out a little too slow. And Scrazzer takes game 2 in overtime. That is crazy. We were just saying how it felt like the inevitability of Raintown's strategy was going to catch up to Scrazzer. But no. Scrazzer had 2 to 3 large pushes near the end of the game. They kept getting rebuffed by Valkyrie, but that last one with the fireballs that happened to take out the goblins just as they were cast was enough to push through the final bit of damage and win in overtime. Congratulations, Scrazzer. Wow.
Scrazzer, I just imagine Scrazzer at the start, just like grabbing his arrows and just like throwing them on the floor.
It's a war declaration.
It's like, you know, you're a fan of wrestling. That's Scrazzer's entrance ceremony.
My God, that's Scrazzer's music. You know, that's awesome. Scrazzer's gonna clean his screen because he spilled an entire bucket of hot wings sauce. And I'm kidding. I have no idea. But I like to imagine Scrazzer was sitting there playing with a big bucket of Wingstop at his head and just couldn't work. He's wiping his screen off right now before Game 3. There's too much money on. There's $100 on the line in this on this Game 3.
Think of how many more wings he could have gotten.
He could have bought. He's gonna buy a whole bucket of wings for next week. Maybe clean his screen off now.
Oh man. Oh, geez.
How does that happen 2 games in a row? That's so unfortunate.
Fireballs falling on it. I imagine he just has all his cards in the pocket and he's walking and it's just falling out. It's like, oh, sorry, oops. Oh goodness, my arrows.
What you don't see is that he's got 2 phones in his hand. He's playing Clash of Clans on the other phone. So that's what happens. He's got Clash in one phone, Clash Royale on the other, and sometimes you just can't focus on both.
Jeez. Goodness. All right. I hope you guys have been enjoying Super Magical Cup number 4. Once Scrazzer is done fixing up whatever technical difficulties he may have, we're gonna get back into that series. 1-1 is the game right now between Scrazzer and Raintown, and whoever wins moves on to first or second.
Scrazzer opens very aggressively, hoping they didn't have an answer to the hog in his hand, but of course the ever-present Valkyrie.
Yeah. Now the Valkyrie took down the goblins, which is really important in a goblin hog push. But the Hog Rider still got a good amount of swings. The big question is what's going to happen on the counter push.
What's interesting is that by dragging the Valkyrie on, even like moving it back just a little bit, greatly reduces the amount of damage it's going to do to the tower. Although notice that the Goblin actually did get some damage in there because it was tanking on the Valkyrie the entire time.
Something to note about the Valkyrie and why it's such a good defensive card is because you can place it. It's tanky enough that you can place it in the midst of a lot of units.
survive.
It swings and it kills them off.
It's one of my favorite cards to play against 3 Musketeers for that reason. It's one of the few cards that hits all 3 Musketeers while not immediately dying to them.
But the big problem is its actual move speed is very low, so on offense, it can be kind of around. It's not as slow as a P.E.K.K.A for sure, but it's still...
One hit by a mini P.E.K.K.A, and then the minions are actually getting in there now. Great job by Raintown on this counter push. Raintown has actually been on the losing side of some of these counter pushes, which is why his tower was so low, and great job by him pulling it pretty much even. And
his
now
conversions have been very good.
Great, and now he's got a Royal Giant, or I'm sorry, a Valkyrie coming back, while even though it has no support, I mean, what's Scrazzer gonna do?
He has to play his cannon, and as far as there's 2 cards in Raidtown that hasn't been revealed, and I can't remember what they are, but
I think it's a trifecta, it's a hog deck, I think.
he hasn't played his hog at all.
Maybe he doesn't have a hog, maybe he's just going with the other damage dealers. Unfortunate placement of that cannon. It almost immediately gets blinked. Not a great use of 3 elixir. You think you'd rather probably pull a little bit, and Raintown gets punished with the bad placement by taking another couple hundred on his tower.
It's getting very scary.
Now the nice thing though is that there's still a minute and 15 seconds left in the game. I think both players could actually take the weakened towers when we move into overtime with 2 towers at full health. $100 riding on the game is super important. Every play matters. Every elixir counts.
Yep, these skeletons are not going to get very much done, and Raintown still has 2 cards he hasn't revealed. What are they? Cannon?
We saw them in an earlier match. I just can't remember them off the top of my head. Great fire! Out so much stuff and knocks the tower down with only 50 seconds left. Oh,
the Royal Giant!
He felt never comfortable playing the Royal Giant because of the presence of the mini P.E.K.K.A. Having the minions out helps chop down the mini P.E.K.K.A. Between the mini P.E.K.K.A. and the cannon, it doesn't really matter. The Royal Giant dies
43
anyways.
seconds. He has one more chance. There's one more opportunity, but it's so difficult. Any card he puts down on the right side, because of the extended territory advantage Scrazzer has, he can just backstab the back line.
Was that an accident to play it on the right side there? I mean, did he really want to slow push on the left? Or is he split pushing? I see he's trying to defend the invariable hog push.
The cannon?
Right?
Oh no! And the fireball.
Oh, it does hit it!
And the cannon!
Hits. The mini P.E.K.K.A. going, oh my
god!
Now, how much damage can this this ice?
He has no cannon! He has no cannon! The Royal Giant's got to get onto the tower. Just 2 shots, 2 or 3.
One more. Can he fireball it? He can fireball it now. He can fireball it for the win. It looks like he doesn't want to.
And look at the Valkyrie!
The Valkyrie is doing some work there. Where's that fireball? It takes 3 to 4 seconds to get there. He's trying to cycle to it and he can't draw it. He has lost the game. He could not cycle it. No! He couldn't get it. He was trying to cycle the 4 cards. Craziness. The 6 elixir cost of the Royal Giant, while necessary to get the tower down, really prevented him from getting back to his fireball. Winner! Scrazzer wins 2-1 and advances to the finals.
Oh my god.
Incredible game. Scrazzer wins at least 4 Arena 8 Super Magical chests. That is, I mean, $130 or more, $140 worth of gems. Incredible play by Scrazzer. Losing game 1, but winning the 2nd and 3rd game in the series in order to advance to the finals. Great mental preparation. And he did it twice, I'd like to add, with the same deck. He had to beat actually, he had to do it with 2 different decks. He had to beat Raintown's 2nd deck with both his 1st and 2nd deck in order to do that. Wow.
And something else to think about too is I feel like this game is the prime moment to talk about let some damage happen to your King Tower. Because look at it. Look at this situation right now. The King Tower for Raidtown is at full health. It's at full health. At some point, just play your Royal Giant, let your tower die, let the extra units spill over to your King Tower. Just make sure you take down that tower in time.
Yeah, I mean, they can do 2,000 damage to your King Tower, and it still has more health than a Crown Tower. You know, and the King Tower has so much health that, Raintown is saying afterwards, actually, very interesting commentary. He's saying his cycle was off the entire game. So maybe from the opening interactions, he couldn't really find that groove, get his good cycle set up.
And what's interesting is that opening interaction is all started from the aggressive Hog Goblin play. And it was a good defense to put the Valkyrie there, but that might have just been the thing that started the whole chain of card cycling.
And we talk about the quality of play. Scrazzer even said, he's like, I noticed. He's like, I know I could pressure hard because your cycle was just constantly off and he couldn't get, like, he never really got his Royal Giant cycle going because he kept playing the Ice Wizard and stuff on defense and then not playing the Royal Giant on the counter push.
I mean, that's what we noticed, right? Far into the game, we were talking about, hey, 2 cards still hasn't been revealed, right? And at a certain point, it gets to, I feel like as a player of Clash Royale, at a certain point, you just have to be okay with the fact that your opening hand wasn't what you wanted it to be. Just take the hit early on and just force the game situation back into something that's favorable, because as long as you do it early enough, you buy yourself time to claw your way back, right? But if you do it too late, then there's no more opportunity. The instant it hits overtime, if the tower is gone, then
it's
you
over.
lose.
I mean, we saw how effective the Royal Giant was. The 2 Royal Giants that were cast actually did a lot of damage,
Yeah.
but he just could never get an opportunity to play it. This is a rematch of last week's final, so we are in the top 4. The winner of this match, best of 3, will go to the finals. But these 2 players know each other very well because they played each other last week in a very lucrative finals. Manu Fan ended up winning with a last-second fireball in overtime for the win.
Yep.
Or I'm sorry, a push in overtime for the win while Woody's rocket was in the air to steal it. So they played to game 3. Hopefully they go to another 3-game series. Great
Classic
mortar. Oh, interesting. Mortar's going to go for the cannon. But even though he did fireball the minion horde and got a little of elixir advantage there, I feel like this princess chopping down the Inferno Tower is going to be way better, and the mortars only really shoot once or twice. Nice thing is the princess is going to win the princess duel. His princess is going to fire twice, killing the enemy princess before the Inferno Tower dies. Effectively losing, nothing.
Nice. This is the
this is the minor deck. That's right. So I think great.
Oh, the zap! The mini P.E.K.K.A! Manu Fan!
My God! Manu Fan's trademark move is sneaking mini P.E.K.K.A.s by
Manu
defenses.
Fan,
And
the
look at
mini
that
P.E.K.K.A.
great
ninja.
cannon to counter that mortar. That's a 3 for 4 on the mortar. Great play. So we saw Miner in the back, Mini P.E.K.K.A. in the front with Zap in his hand. Only 9 elixir to do 1,500 plus damage to the tower. I mean, that's a very good ratio.
That is a very well thought out combination. Manu Fan, that is a good combination.
And let's also think about the mind games that plays now. Now, if Woody sees a miner, he has to kind of go into this mental state of like, okay, I need to be ready for a zap. I need to have my skeletons. I need to be ready. You know what I mean? Like, he has to have so many cards to counter that line of play to have that exact thing not happen again.
Naked minion horde plus the miner.
Can't zap him.
Oh,
and you know you can't zap the minion horde. You have to arrow it. Do you have arrows? It looks like
and now the skeletons are just gonna get taken down by the minion horde. Spear goblins on the left side, and the minion horde is gonna do so much damage to the goblins. And now the fireball comes out.
2 minions. It's so gross because even the surviving minion gets some damage. And great, I love this miner deck. I'm gonna go home and build this right now.
This deck is simply amazing, and minion horde comes up again. Is gonna be able to take down the mortar, and the deploy time.
And unfortunately, the one shot it fired was actually the mini P.E.K.K.A. who's gonna go one more shot on the tower, and not the princess. Normally, the mortar can take one shot at a princess and kill it, and that's at least like a decent value. But there, he was able to get it on the mini P.E.K.K.A., which still survived long enough to hit the tower.
Manu Fan's timing and positioning of his card placement is absolutely amazing.
And we know Woody is no scrub, right? Like this is incredible. He's doing this against a great player. We see the miner pop up on the princess, killing the princess, which is like one of my favorites. Is miner. And even gets a shot in on the musketeer while tanking for all these swarms.
Oh my goodness! Where's your clear spell? Where is it? The mini
he only has the one.
And the mini P.E.K.K.A. Oh my God! He's got 2 towers down. 2 towers to 0. Manu Fan absolutely smashes Woody.
And that is with Woody's, his preferred deck, his mortar deck. Now what's interesting is Manu Fan can't play the miner deck anymore. He used the miner deck to knock out the mortar deck. He's gonna have to beat the mortar deck and the Royal Giant deck that Woody brought.
With whichever one.
Deck.
Because if Manu Fan wins, then he moves on, right? So Woody needs to make a decision. Is his mortar deck gonna beat the Royal Giant deck, or is his own Royal Giant deck gonna
beat the Royal Giant and then play
and then play the alternative?
Yeah, you're right. He's right. Woody does have the ability to switch. That was an incredible game, guys. We've talked about how Miner is we talked actually last week. We said we didn't expect to see a lot of the legendaries this week because people were just starting to get them, just starting to learn how the decks are played. But here we are, less than 2 weeks after the debut of Miner, and we're seeing it making a huge impact in a very important game. What is this card going to be when it gets an extra
6%?
6% hit points. That's just a few more tower shots, but it does add up. It counts.
Absolutely.
Wow. It's unfortunate we're only going to see the miner. I kind of wish the miner deck lost so we could see it again. Right?
Just barely losing and then seeing it played again.
Miner, incredible card. It counters elixir collectors. It counters princesses.
It's such a different card. It's such a different card. It's kind of like a goblin barrel, but not even really, right? Just because of the properties of the unit.
Splitting the goblins to buy a little time. The Inferno Tower, I actually don't like the placement there because it looks like Woody placed it just out of range and it's not going to hit the Royal Giant.
Nice. And the princess in the back.
And unfortunately, with no towers shooting it, it's pretty much a full health elixir or Royal Giant. Royal Giant's one of the best counters to mortar. I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
So as you
played
saw,
in the same lane.
Yep. It tanked the entire mortar and killed the Inferno Tower and barely took damage.
All right, 6 elixir to 5. So
Woody does have the elixir advantage though right now.
Yeah. He's gonna push across, and I think this is just all set up.
Manu Fan's going to win the princess duel right here because his princess was able to finish off. Unfortunately,
couldn't
didn't hit
reach the tower.
Couldn't reach the tower. Just had to fireball it.
Yeah, I don't
Not
think
an
this
official
scores
elixir
right
trade, but what are you going to do, right? It's a princess.
Yeah.
Princess are one of the toughest cards in the game to deal with if unanswered.
Yep. Yep. And Woody gets set. I feel like Woody is very far behind right now, even though the scoreboard may not reflect this. The tower health may not reflect this.
I think he's only maybe 2 to 3 elixir behind. It's a pretty reasonable thing to come back on. The question is, was that a fast enough rocket? It was. So here we go. We got a 9 elixir push to counter that, saying, all right, you're going to commit 6. Well, I'm gonna really make you pay. And the well-timed cannon, perfectly timed cannon, plus the skeletons and the princess, I think has put this game back in Woody's hands. I think he was caught off guard a little bit by that first thing.
Curious play from Manu Fan, and I wonder if the purpose of that was really just to cycle cards so that the next time his Royal Giant comes up, he has a better combination.
I think it's a worthwhile push. I mean, the guy just spent 6 elixir to kill your 3. You should have an elixir advantage, and I think Royal Giant plus minions has a chance to do a lot of damage. It was just Woody having the cannon in his hand, and of course the princess to kill the minions worked out great. If that was Zap, for example, that wouldn't be good enough.
Yep. Mortar, and there is probably a cannon.
Oh, and it hits the princess! Great splash.
But again, the Inferno Tower is out of range.
The mortar will get a few shots in there, but really not enough. I mean, the thing is that mortar, there's so much health on the Royal Giant that the mortar kind of doesn't, the damage it does to it doesn't matter.
And that's the interaction, right? If every time you play the mortar, Manu Fan responds by Royal Giant on the same lane, then what you need to do is wait and then place the Inferno Tower so that the Royal Giant gets burned down.
I think Woody's a little behind here. It looked like he threw that fireball on the three cost minions trying to defend his princess, and not only did he make the elixir inefficient trade, but he didn't protect the princess. So it looks like he's
now one thing
to
to note is he does have rocket, right? So if the clump at the bridge gets too big, he could just rocket that and it would be very effective. Of course, ideally he would want to cycle on the tower, but you do what you have to do.
Let's talk about that great zap. I don't know if you noticed, but there was minions on the Inferno Tower, zapped it to take it off of the Royal Giant and put it on the minions, and that allowed the Royal Giant to finish off the Inferno Tower and get a little bit more damage onto both the mortar and the tower.
Yep, this is getting so difficult for Woody. Just the Royal Giant's constantly on the same side.
I don't think Woody's going to be able to pull this off because he keeps playing his towers outside of Royal Giant range, and that's adding up. These Royal Giants are getting a lot of elixir value before they're even getting into tower range.
He's playing on the back foot. The mortar is constantly, every single building is being used defensively now. He's got no chance. Look at the tower health for Manu Fan.
Great job stabilizing after all that. He won a princess duel. He was able to hold it off. 600.
He needs to win this next interaction. He needs to play his buildings, but the cycle is all off, right? The cycle is off for him.
Expert stalling by Woody. I don't know if you saw that. That single squad of 1 skeleton's held off a Valkyrie for several steps.
Inferno Tower needs to be placed in the optimal solution. And right now, the big thing is, you see how Manu Fan is playing his cards early. It's walking in front of the Royal Giant, and look at that. The Inferno Tower tags onto the Valkyrie instead of the Royal Giant.
This Royal Giant has already killed several elixir worth of stuff, and it's at more than 50% health. What can you do here? Can he get through? Oh, wow. So I don't know if he's going to be able to stop it. Where's the Inferno Tower? And then the mortar, again, the mortar's not really a great defensive tower.
He's just making it so that he loses a little later, rather than he's not playing to win right now.
At the same time, though, there's only 1 minute and 50 seconds left.
Oh!
He can stall.
It targeted onto the tower, but only 1 shot left.
If he can stall for an exceptional period of time here, it's possible
this could be a key difference. It could be a key difference in the game. This time he gets ahead of the Royal Giant.
He does. And the cannon's already placed really far back. We know we don't expect to see it.
There's a mortar. He's ahead of the Royal Giant right now.
Oh, you're right. He got ahead on the cycle.
And he can play the Inferno Tower. He can actually, he's ahead in the cycle.
Between the mortar and the
the Valkyrie gets in front.
The mortar splash looks like it's hitting both the Valkyrie and the Royal Giant, at least for a couple shots.
Super important that the Inferno Tower tagged onto the Royal Giant because now the Ice Wizard is played when the Valkyrie dies, and the Royal Giant still maintains.
We mentioned the pressure, actually, that Manu Fan is under not playing arrows or fireball in his deck. We said, how are you going to kill a princess? You only have zap in your deck. And here I think Woody started to lock onto it. He's just going to keep cycling and playing any sort of hit point soaks that he can in order to get out 2, 3, 4 princesses.
And if anything, it'd be super smart for Manu Fan, or rather for Woody, just to play for the draw right now. I feel like that's a very, very important thing for him to really seriously consider right now, because it's so dangerous. He needs a building.
How do you kill these princesses? Look at, I mean, they're zappable now. The 2 of them that are up front can actually be zapped.
I once saw a YouTube video where they were trying to get as many princesses on the board. This might just rival it.
But if you notice, look at, he's zapping the skeletons and the goblins, but not these
oh my god, look at how much damage this is going to do.
There's 27 seconds left. Is this going to be enough to push through? Like, if he gets 5 princesses out, or 4 again now. Like, is that going to be enough? Can he push through the damage?
He's going to put 1 more princess down, and the elixir is...
The zap is going to take them all out. I think he's going to zap all 4 of those.
Oh god! Keep the Valkyrie away.
I think we're going to a draw. What an incredible draw!
Oh my goodness.
What do you even say about that? Woody, expert defense. One of the best defenses I've ever seen in this game to hold off at 600 damage for what, 2.5 minutes?
That was super scary.
That was some really innovative defense too. I think he sussed out that Manu Fan's deck doesn't have a way to kill Princess and just figured out like, all right, this is what I got to do. Here's what's crazy. Manu Fan is locked into this deck.
Yep.
He has to play this
And
Zap
now Woody
deck.
knows.
And Woody knows this time.
Woody knows. The draw. Woody has the tools. He knows the strategy. And Woody extends his life lead.
Unbelievable. Great. I mean, I think Manu Fan played that really expertly. He kept mixing up his pushes. It wasn't like he just did the same thing over and over and over again. He kept trying to be a little innovative with his pushes, but what it really came down to is you have a deck that doesn't have a way to kill a princess, and the other deck knows to cycle back to princess now.
I almost wonder if it had been worth it, it would have been worth it for Manu Fan to start throwing tiny bits of elixir on the other side, just to see what he can bait out of Woody. If Woody makes some kind of commitment with the building of any sort or places a card on the right side, then all of a sudden the dynamic of the left side push changes. And given that the tower is at 600 health, if Woody makes one mistake and lets that Royal Giant tag onto the tower, it's done.
I mean, I think what's spectacular about that is that Woody played literally flawlessly for an amount of time that constitutes a whole game.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
constantly, even using cycling, mortar, cannon, inferno tower, just making sure the Royal Giant never tagged onto the tower.
I mean, if we had started that from zero, there was a period in time where he literally would have been invulnerable, right? He would have not just taken any damage for like a 2-minute period. It's incredible. So let's see what happens. Manu Fan knows what he's up against now. He knows that he's up against a mortar deck that has princess, and he doesn't have a way to kill that princess. So he's got to really figure out what he's going to do to stop that princess. I really like the Royal Giant countering the mortar. I mean, you're going to see that Royal Giant basically kill the mortar with no damage to speak of on it.
Yep. Alright, Valkyrie needs to be taken down, and the Inferno Tower is going to be positioned, but it
I like
tags
the
on the
placement.
Valkyrie.
Oh, but the Goblin's well timed.
And that's the thing. Using the Valkyrie, Manu Fan has done this consistently. He uses the time for the while the Inferno Tower is burning down the Valkyrie, and then he places units in front of the Royal Giant once the first unit dies, once the Valkyrie dies.
I wonder how much this is catching up to Manu Fan. So if you notice there, he did Princess and Zap to counter the Goblins. Now, granted, it does let your Royal Giant attack a little more, but how many times can you make these, pretty expensive trades and still come out ahead? I expect. Oh, the Royal Giant played on the other side this time. I'm surprised he didn't. Why wouldn't you play it in front? Like, is there any reason why you wouldn't play it in front?
I feel like if he was going to do that, he needed to play it more in the middle so that the mortar would tag onto the Royal Giant as it walks over to the right side.
At least tank it, if nothing else. So I feel like this was kind of a weird play by Manu Fan. I wonder if he's
Manu
trying to mix
Fan
up
needs
his
to
line.
he needs to make a big impact on his tower. He
Look
needs
at
to
that Royal
trade.
Giant go.
Yep.
I mean, that mortar has to pretty much kill the tower to make it worth it here.
Minions in front of the Royal Giant really saved it. Inferno Tower tagged onto the minions rather than the Royal Giant. That really saved the day for Manu Fan. Good positioning. One tower down.
You know what? You know what though? We should shut up because I was wondering, like, why wouldn't you just play it in front of the tower? And then he ended up killing the tower. I think what he saw was like, all right, if you're going to spend 7 elixir on that side of the board, that's 7 elixir that will do a lot of damage, but over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to punish you right now by basically putting together this big push, and then I can go right back to tanking. Like, I expect Manu Fan probably did the smart move there and just is like, all right, I'm going to.
Oh no.
No, just out of range again. I'm going to take the tower and then defend the rest of the time.
Yep. And the big thing about this is once the tower is down for a Royal Giant, it's actually really interesting. You can play pushes that affect the left side tower, but coming down the right lane, and that helps you in the sense, okay, he's starting to rocket cycle, but then the Royal Giant tagged onto the tower.
The Ice Wizard makes it so hard. Look at that. Skeletons just got eaten up right away. The Goblins got eaten up in 2 hits. I feel like the only really effective defensive card is the Princess.
3 crown. Is it?
Looks like it could be.
Oh, double Royal Giant plus a Princess and the Ice Wizard.
The Royal Giant was attacking the Inferno Tower wasn't even attacking the Royal Giant, just wasn't enough. Wow, it looks like these double Royal Giant pushes. He's learned. Well, you know what, Manu Fan wants to take that tower just for.
Not even
do it.
No.
Wow, great game by Woody. So 2-0-0 by Manu Fan, right? Like there was a draw in that match.
Yeah.
Ends up 2-0ing Woody, but incredible play by Woody. So we have Manu Fan Scrazzer in the finals. Wow!
The storyline that was set up in the last Super Magical Cup. Woody just returned from his hiatus from performing the Super Magical Cup. He was a tournament winner, made it all the way to the finals, got stopped by Manu Fan, who is at that point a new contender, right? Next tournament, this tournament, Super Magical Cup 4, is all about having to see whether Manu Fan can consistently defeat Woody, or because Woody was very close to winning. right? He was very close. It was just a matter of rocketing, right?
I mean, we always talk about the best players in this game. They don't play the deck or the cards. They play the players.
Yeah.
And what we've seen is that Manu Fan played Woody in their first matchup to a very close split. I mean, a 2-1 game, a 2-1 set. You couldn't get any closer. And what we saw when they rematched, it seems like Manu Fan has learned some of Woody's habits, especially since Woody's still playing the Mortar deck, and was able to take both games and really not drop a game this time.
Yeah. And the big thing is now Manu Fan has defeated Woody twice in a row. He's going to get first place in terms of points. Let's take a look at this points board. And what I'm illustrating here.
That's right. Manu Fan is going to take the lead. Well, I don't know, because Woody goes up to at least 1750. Manu Fan might only end up at 1500 unless he wins. But if he does win, you're right, he will be in first place. Woody and Manu Fan are basically neck and neck for best super magical player. Although, let's not count out Malcade, who's going to come up at 500 points after this, and really only needs one finals appearance to put him in that discussion.
And the big thing too is the dark horse Scrazor, the new name. He's gonna now be in the position that Manu Fan was.
I mean, Scrazor is at worst in the top, 6 or 7 players ever in the Super Magical Cup for his finals appearance. And if he wins, jumps right into the top 5.
And the question is, in the next tournament, will we see Scrazor again, and will he continuously make it to the grand finals? All right, guys. While we're waiting for the next game,
Looks like Manu Fan is taking a quick break. We're gonna take probably a quick.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom real fast. Oh well, maybe they're battling.
I'll leave you guys with the raffle question.
They're playing right now. Oh, you're gonna use bathroom. Manu Fan's in the same boat. I'm in the same boat as you, Manu Fan. Let's use the bathroom. Take it over, Rainey.
I'm gonna leave you guys with the last raffle question for Super Magical Cup number 4. And the last question, remember, is that you get to ask Rumham any question that you like, and we will answer it. If you cannot think of a question, then you can talk about what balance change you most enjoyed. Was it a health change, a unit change, change on freeze? What balance change did you really enjoy? And we can talk about that too. So either ask Rumham a question, or what balance change you enjoyed the most. And you can enter the raffle by doing !raffle space and then the answer to the question that we asked. And also remember that Apple Store giveaways can only be fulfilled to winners in the United States. Google Play rewards can be given to users of all locations. If you do not fulfill either of those requirements, you may still enter the raffle, but you just will not receive any prizing if you win. So that is our raffle question. And with that said, we will be going to a short, tiny break, and we'll be back in just about a minute. The timer's not going to be exact, but we'll be back. All right, guys, we're back. Rumham is still away, but just a few moments and we will be entering into the finals of our tournament. Let's take a look at the bracket just to see what's going on here. And the road that these players took: Raintown, Nippon, Scrazor, Mr. Fradonoth, Woody, Zeus X, Manu Fan, and Malcade. All of these players got knocked out now to decide who the last 2 players are: Scrazor and Manu Fan. Scrazor is the new name, and Manu Fan is now the old in this matchup. It's interesting because Manu Fan was in this position before. Manu Fan was a new player, and he ended up toppling the first place winner. And now Scler is in that position. He could topple the first place winner here. So we'll see. We'll get right back into it. And here we go.
You should say in chat who you want to win. We should get the crowd getting into this. Who would you be throwing confetti for?
Yep. Who would you be throwing confetti for? Would you want Scler or would you want Manu Fan to win? Which is it? Which is it, Rumham?
I'm a front runner. I'm not gonna lie. Manu Fan put on such a great performance to win last week. I think having a repeat performance would be a very newsworthy story because, again, to win a 128-person tournament 2 weeks in a row is
Not easy.
Back to back,
That's
too.
about as definitive of
Yeah.
of a statement as you can make.
Wizard, on the other hand, Scler.
Scler, I mean, gets away with the elixir collector, right? Looks like the push. Well, I mean, this is a 13 elixir push, but let's see, can
We'll
he
see.
defend? Great timing on the cannon, but again, the Valkyrie plus Royal Giant seems so good because Valkyrie's sort of a preemptive
Nice.
counter to the thing you're afraid of.
I like that. The Barbarians spread out into a line. The Valkyrie could only hit one at a time. And then also the fact that the Valkyrie got distracted by the cannon and he'd play the Barbarians on the opposite side gave him enough time to take down that Royal Giant. Took a little bit of damage on his tower, but got away with the Elixir Collector. That's the lesson to learn.
Every time I watch the Super Magical Cup, I learn how far my game has to go. I mean, there's so many little details about unit placement and timing that I certainly don't have in my own skill set that I love learning from some of the best players in the game.
Absolutely. Nice fireball. Onto the
It's
tower
interesting
and the
'cause it's
Ice
not
Wizard.
really a 3 for 4, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't kill the Ice Wizard. The Ice Wizard's gonna do a little damage.
Yeah.
And unfortunately now the Princess is free to run wild. Oh, he's got arrows too! Ha
I've got more of that. Where that came
Where's the
from?
cannon, buddy?
And this time Scler isn't dropping them on the floor.
Yep, and he's a little more prepared this time. Unfortunately, it's like the Barbarians are gonna get eaten up by the minions, but I don't expect him to take too much damage or any on his tower.
Yep.
Unless, of course, that cannon goes way too
2,
soon.
3.
Yeah, I'll take a little
one.
bit. 1, 2.
Oh,
Attack.
that's actually
Yeah.
pretty significant.
If that cannon had a little bit more health, it wouldn't have happened. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that's 150, 200 damage. It adds
Yeah,
up.
minions do a lot of damage.
Minions are the quintessential glass cannon unit.
Yep.
I mean, they are high damage, low hit points, but you get a lot of them.
Yep. Very, very high damage. It's amazing what can happen when 3 minions don't have to travel to your tower and they just happen to just be in front of your tower. If you ever get in that situation, they do so much damage.
Pretty good arrows right there. I like that. I mean, unfortunately, they took a few shots on the tower first.
Okay, actually, Scler has time to put units in front of the
not.
giant. No!
What's he gonna do about this elixir collector? Is he just gonna let it hit his? Oh, he's gonna. Oh, okay, that's actually a pretty decent fireball. I mean, the things it doesn't stop the giant. Is that just like a 5 for 5 trade, and he just hopes that the next one goes a little better? Maybe like.
He's got a giant in the back. He could add on. I
fair,
don't know
though.
what his cycle is. It
Then
is the
again,
musketeer.
it was just 5 for 5. I mean, the first giant died to elixir collector straight up, and then what do you do about the second giant? You know what I mean? You're in front of towers
Yep.
out.
And look at the damage that giant did. And the
of
giant, look at how much health is. The Royal Giant is dead already.
Great defense by Scler to kill the Royal Giant. He was ready for it. I mean, he had the 8 elixir plus sitting in his hand. And
And-
you notice that since he cast the giant and the second musketeer, he'd just been saving. He hadn't been casting anything more on defense.
Yep.
15 seconds left. And like we say, when you go into overtime, this really matters. He has
Cycling.
fireball and arrows.
He's more than happy to arrows the princess. I'm surprised he hasn't done it yet. Maybe not
Maybe
in the
doesn't have
cycle.
his hand. Yeah, he arrowed pretty recently.
Nice. Timing on the barbarians.
The
If
cannon, yep, great cannon. And he did it again. He's looking like he's going to try to win with the fireball right here instead
Yep.
of trying to arrows pointlessly.
that fireball.
And
Nice.
it does. Scler takes game 1 over defending champion Manu Fan with some excellent counter Royal Giant play. We talked about how last week Royal Giant was really the breakout deck. It was 3 of the top 8 decks. Nobody was really sure how good Royal Giant was going to be after its buff, and it dominated last week's tournament. Here we see Scler coming in very prepared to counter Royal Giants and winning with the old classic giant.
So there's a lot of questions on the table right now. Okay, so normally when I see that game, I'd be scared for Manu Fan because I feel like Scler handily, like the huge pushes that Manu Fan had, the big slow pushes with a ton of elixir committed, Scler countered that really well. He placed his troops, he pulled the units in the appropriate order, he played the right order of cards. But the thing is, now Scler has to swap his deck. So that's number 1. Number 2, the minor mini P.E.K.K.A deck is very, very, very,
That's
very,
right.
very
we might
different.
Be seeing it.
It
And
is.
it looks like here we are. We're going to be seeing the minor mini P.E.K.K.A deck. I'm very glad to see this guy again in the
Yep.
finals. Let's see how this deck was. And this deck hasn't, as far as I've seen, hasn't lost yet. It's won every time he's played.
Here it comes. The zap.
And even the low health mini P.E.K.K.A kind of doesn't matter.
Zap it.
Oh, Is he going to? He doesn't have Zap in his hand?
Oh, he doesn't have Zap in his hand, but that's...
But if you see, though, without the mini P.E.K.K.A., actually, I don't know, man. For 3 Elixir, 500 damage is a ton.
Yeah.
Miner is a very, very, very strong card already.
Yeah. All right, here's a mini P.E.K.K.A. of Scrazer's Own, and this is a
Scrazzer
cheap
has to
cycle.
He has to win with his cycle deck, that's right.
And I almost feel like that's really effective against
Really,
Miner.
look at the Elixir difference. He's so far behind right now. That single cannon took out a mini P.E.K.K.A. and a Hog. Ugh.
I feel like the cheap cards that Scrazzer has in some ways can be really great against Miner mini P.E.K.K.A. just because he can keep on placing more units after the Zap.
I mean, he can counter if he holds it right, he can counter the Miner mini P.E.K.K.A. attacks with goblins and skeletons. Just for 3 Elixir, you can counter this whole thing. Just throwing the fireball, getting ahead on that fireball cycle. Here he comes. We got the whole Miner mini P.E.K.K.A. play. 7 Elixir, backed up with that.
Oh, and he's got the... Okay, so skeletons are just going to be wiped away immediately.
It's crazy how Miner
and
totally
the Miner is
invalidates
still alive!
Zap.
Oh!
Oh, and the mini P.E.K.K.A. is attacking too. It totally invalidates Zap. That's so interesting because if you zap the minion horde, normally you'd expect the tower to finish it off, but not
the
if
Miner
they
is tanking. And the mini P.E.K.K.A. got rid of the cannon, and then they just transferred over the tower, and this is just such a well thought out deck.
It's a really innovative attack range that most current decks aren't really used to. We used to see back in the day minion horde mini P.E.K.K.A. because the mini P.E.K.K.A. hides under the minion horde, right? His ability to use the Miner to really turn this combo from like, it's kind of cute to a big deal. Oh yeah, Scrazzer makes a minor mistake there.
That hurts Hog Cycle decks.
Hot wing finger mistake hitting the King Tower.
Yeah, Hog Cycle decks. For Royal Giant decks, it actually doesn't hurt as much as you would expect, but for Hog Cycle decks, it hurts.
Actually, I would argue it doesn't matter at all, because Royal Giant decks are always attacking from the river or from just over the river where the King Tower came.
Oh no, the mini P.E.K.K.A. got distracted. Ooh, birdie.
I actually really like the mini P.E.K.K.A. countering the Miner there on the right side, because it's the quickest way to get rid of that tank.
Yep,
I mean,
and then the mini P.E.K.K.A. becomes exposed.
Yeah, well, this deck is so is powerful, not because Miner is particularly good, but because Miner is tanking for all these other things.
Yeah.
Oh, he's running around, he's running away from the mini P.E.K.K.A.
Oh no!
Running him all around in circles. Oh, great zap there.
And
now,
Manu Fan can just
he
hold.
does have the Miner.
He's on cruise control.
But it's a little late. It's a little late.
He could zap the tower.
That's true, he could. Oh, that's right, it does make it retarget.
Yeah. But I don't think he's willing to spend that elixir. He's very far ahead. He doesn't need to play costly, risky pushes.
Yeah, I think just pure defense using zap when you need to. You can see a zap. Scrazzer did a zap onto Manu Fan's tower. Didn't quite work.
Yep. This is very tough to come back from.
And even just like the princess, like when you're dealing with the mini P.E.K.K.A. in front of you, what do you do about the princess there? You know what I mean? Like, I love this Miner deck. Oh, I love this Miner deck.
There's so many threats.
I'm building it right now on my phone.
I really feel like it's purely strong in the fact that the Miner is played back in the tower, and units that you would play in front of your tower just get drawn towards the Miner instead. That's really where it hurts.
Yeah, it is super impressive when you play Barbarians in front of the tower to counter the mini P.E.K.K.A. like you normally would.
Yeah.
They clear out. They just leave a pure path for that mini P.E.K.K.A. to run.
Yeah. And then the fact that when you add on top the minion horde, it gets incredibly complicated. Because if you time out that match and you have minion horde, and then you have the mini P.E.K.K.A. on top, just imagine the situation: you play the arrows, okay, but the mini P.E.K.K.A. is still really healthy. Then you play a small card, you still get zapped.
I mean, we're in the situation right now where, once again, the Miner deck has won, so we're not going to see it again.
Yeah.
Great early play by Scrazzer to deal a bunch of damage to that tower. I'm not... Let's see. He already used zap.
There's a fast hog push. There's a fast hog push.
Sometimes that just works. I mean, when you only have 3 games to play, it can be worth it just to sell the farm and try to hog right at the start of the game. They might not have it.
Well, he knows he's up against a Royal Giant deck, right? So he knows that essentially...
Great placement. Notice that... oh, it did hit the Valkyrie. I was going to say, I thought he played it just timed well enough where the cannon would shoot the Royal Giant.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like that defense. Now, remember, Scrazzer doesn't have Barbarians. And remember, the big thing that he did before to defend against Royal Giants well was cannon on one side, draw the Valkyrie away, Barbarians on the other side, take down the Royal Giant. But now he has to live with just a mini P.E.K.K.A., which is a great damaging unit against the Royal Giant.
Yeah, it does kind of handcuff him to only attack with the Hog Riders because you need that mini P.E.K.K.A. for defense. You have to hold 7 elixir in your hand to get this. Does he have a zap? No, he does, but he can't retarget it to anything.
Yep.
So you see, it's not a real strong. Like, I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of zaps like that where the people are zapping the Inferno Towers this week, and I just don't. I don't understand.
It's not a good choice. The reason why it's great with the Royal Giant is because the Royal Giant is ranged, right? The fact that it's ranged means that you can squeeze units in front of the Inferno Tower and then zap it. But with the Hog Rider, there's no opportunity like that.
Yeah.
You almost want to say that freeze is the ideal choice against something like an Inferno Tower.
I'd absolutely agree with that. Or Lightning. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think Lightning is one of the strong. I mean, actually, what you've been seeing at the top of the ladder is as
Hog
the
Zap Lightning stuff.
well, actually, as the trifecta deck has become very popular, people have actually started putting
Nice.
in Lightning to counter it. So people like
Yep.
Musketeer, Valkyrie, Hog use Lightning, all three of them. You Lightning the Ice Wizard and the Royal Giant or whatever. you know?
Yeah, Scrazzer caught Manu Fan with his pants down and sneaks in a Hog Rider with the Zap. Gets a ton of damage, but now on the counter push, the Mini P.E.K.K.A is going to try to do what it can against the Valkyrie, but this is going to be really tough. The spread is not good. Just one more swing, and nice.
Great. Oh, the Goblins got eaten up, though.
Oh,
Goblins
the
were played.
timing.
That timing was just very unfortunate for Scrazzer because those 2 extra Goblins would have actually probably killed out that Inferno Tower.
Yep.
150 damage left. All Scrazzer has to do is defend.
Cannon and maybe a Zap to take down the Goblins, and now he needs to think about, okay, Mini P.E.K.K.A, the Ice Wizard is tagged onto the Mini P.E.K.K.A, so it's going to be slowed down.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's a lot coming through.
And another cannon being placed.
Again, expert defense. Like, I don't even know what to say about Scrazzer's defense against Royal Giants. I mean, this is some of the best I've seen.
15 seconds left, 13 seconds left, and he knows that the Inferno Tower is down, and so the Hog Rider, he doesn't have arrows either.
And I feel like Manu Fan's in a bad place. He
Oh,
knows,
this is a really good defense. He's getting really far ahead of the Royal Giant now.
and he just knows that. Oh, there's the Zap. The Zap's just a little too late.
Oh, the
for
Fireball
win.
was the last card.
Does Scrazzer just steal it? He does steal it. Oh my God, that's the win. That is so great. Dude, expert Royal Giant play. Great job by Scrazzer reacting to the meta. He saw last week Royal Giant was taking over, and he knew that whatever 2 decks I show up with this week, they need to be able to counter every Royal Giant that I see.
Scrazzer plays so well around the Royal Giant.
Over arguably the best Clash Royale player in the world. Like, Manu Fan has such a pedigree in the Super Magical Cup, beating dozens upon dozens of players every week, that for Scrazzer to top him in the finals while beating, let's add, Raintown, a regular in the top 8 as well. That hats off to Scrazzer. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't have an easy path. Fridernoth, Raintown, and the whole way through, by the way, he was dropping spells out of his pocket.
That's very good point. Skrazzer's doing this with a little bit of a handicap.
Yeah.
But you're right, though. He's beat every single person he beat has a top 8 on their record.
Yeah. Not an easy path, and I just feel like his Royal Giant defense was so well put together.
It was great. I mean, both decks had Cannon plus like Mini P.E.K.K.A or Barbarian, so he has the kind of obvious, 7 Elixir or 8 Elixir play to counter a Royal Giant push. I think what really separated him from all the other people who have those in the deck was the execution. I mean, he almost never missed a timing on the playing the cannon as the Royal Giant walks across, and if he ever did, he had Zap to retarget it.
And that might be the big question. Something interesting to note about that particular deck that Manu Fan played is typically a big combination you see with the Royal Giant is the Barbarians. And maybe it was just purely the lack of the Barbarians. You imagine some of those pushes with the Barbarian instead. All of a sudden, the Mini P.E.K.K.A isn't quite as dangerous.
It's hard to say because there's no perfect deck, right? What's interesting is we saw with our own 2 eyes how good the Valkyrie was with the Royal Giant.
Yeah.
The Valkyrie helped counter a lot of enemy Barbarians. It countered Hog decks very well. If he were to take that out and put in Barbarians,
all of a sudden he loses all of that.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those things where you kind of have to play to your preference, and I think that Scrazzer just had a little bit of an edge this week with his card choices, his execution on it. I expect to see both of these players in the top 8 again.
Now, the other question to that is, if you have, say, Manu Fan coming back for the next tournament, we think Miner, Mini P.E.K.K.A, Zap, Minion Horde are 4 key cards.
Can we play that? Can we show that Miner again? We have it. I think we have the in-game chat. Let's see what that Miner deck was. I think this was really the most talked about deck that we were kind of fascinated with in this tournament. I mean, it didn't lose a game.
Yeah.
It won every game that he played with it.
Yeah, take a look at these other 4 cards, right? If you say that the Miner, Mini P.E.K.K.A, the Zap, maybe the Minion Horde is like kind of the keys of the deck, then you can start replacing the Spear Goblin, Elixir Collector, Princess Cannon, right? What would you do? Is that something that Manu Fan would invest in? Because I feel like this deck was hands down the most effective in the tournament.
Yeah, it seemed unbelievably powerful. He was just running away with a lot of these games. I think what's interesting, and this is just true in deck building and all strategic games, you have to know when to kill your sacred cows. Like when there's just a rule about deck building that you say, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to skip that rule. So, for example, I would never build a deck without arrows or fireball or poison or some way to kill a princess or a big AoE. Like, you just need those cards. This deck gets away with just zap. And other than the one game where we saw a million princesses, and that was only a draw, that this deck kind of violates what you would expect to see out of deck building. I think what he's doing is the miner counts as another way to kill princess. Like if he sees princess, he uses miner instead of arrows, and then beyond that he just uses zap as his other AoE card. But an incredibly, I built the deck right here on my phone. 3.3 elixir cost.
It's very cheap.
Very, very cheap. If you happen to reduce minion horde down to just minions, which may not be recommended because I'm sure the minion horde is incredibly powerful, you can get it down to 3.0. So this deck is, dramatic. Oh, I'm sorry, actually, I didn't have spear goblins in there, so I was one off. The deck is 3.4 with Minion Horde and then 3.1 without. So it's still an incredibly cheap deck. I like that you can keep getting back to Miner over and over again. You can certainly cycle to Miner faster than they can cycle to their Princess and Elixir Collector, so you always have a good target.
Yeah.
Incredible deck. I mean, Manu Fan definitely had, I think, the most interesting deck. Scrazzer's execution was out of control.
Yeah. At any rate, Manu Fan could not take the back-to-back win, and Scrazzer is now the owner of
the Super Magical Cup.
He's the owner of the crown. I've been watching Game of Thrones recently. He's now the man in charge. Right, let's figure out what Skrazzer's first deck was.
Yeah, the giant. So what's interesting is his Elixir Collector giant deck was also really strong. We saw this deck perform really well in Skrazzer's earlier matches. Yeah, I mean, the Giant, it's funny, this deck seemed also very well positioned against Royal Giant.
Yeah.
He had 2 spells to help finish the Giant pushes, so if you just kind of lazily casted a Minion Horde, he could arrow the Minion Horde, and then suddenly it's like, oh my god, how do I kill this Giant? Like, I don't really have a lot of ways. If you had Barbarians, he fireballed it, you know what I mean? Like, there's lots of things. But on defense, he used Cannon and Barbarians, sometimes with Musketeer or Spear Goblins, to repel the Royal Giants before they really did a significant amount of damage.
Yeah.
What I really like about Musketeer and Spear Goblins against the Royal Giant pushes is that it's outside the range of Ice Wizard. Ice Wizard was just eating up.
It needs to come close. Yep.
Ice Wizard had just been eating up Barbarians all day. So I really like that choice.
So Scrazzer wins the Super Magical Cup number 4, earning himself $200 worth of gems. About 7 super magical chests, scales by Irida, and second place will go to Manu Fan, and he gets $100 worth of gems, and then third and fourth place by Raintown and Woody, and they will receive $25 worth of gems each, and those are our placings, and of course our points go all the way down to 8th, and so we shouldn't fail to mention Nippon, Mr. Fridonoth, Titan Zeus X, and Malade. And these players will all receive points. The next Super Magical Cup is going to be super interesting. Now it's Skrazzer's turn to see if he can make a back-to-back win.
Yeah, if he can defend the title.
I was just about to say, Manu Fan's position in the last tournament is Skrazzer's position in this tournament. Manu Fan now was the previous tournament winner, and he's the guy on the throne, right? And Scrazzer is the new guy. First tournament he entered, all the way from the 128 bracket to the finals, one shot.
Maybe Scrazzer will lose next week to a new face.
Yeah, we'll see, and the cycle continues.
And the
young
must eat the old. All right, let's close out this raffle. We got one last raffle all these patient fans have been waiting for.
All right, closing the raffle now, and let's go ahead and draw the last 3 winners for Buckets of Gems.
All right.
Last 3 winners, and we had some very interesting questions here. So, Birkendorf.
Do you think Scrazzer needs glue on his fingers so he doesn't slip? That might be the reverse problem. Can you imagine? It's always like when they say, like, your mom's like, if you make that face, it's going to stay like that. Can you imagine placing the Barbarians and then your finger stays like that forever on the screen? You can never move it?
I don't know why I said Griven, but yes, giveaway Birkendorf. It's a great name.
Congratulations.
You are the winner of a Bucket of Gems. Let's find our next winner. Antneo1014 says the Fire Spirits and the Miner buff is his favorite change.
Okay, so we just saw how powerful Miner can be.
Yeah.
Adding 6% hit points to that card is going to be woo. That might become one of the defining cards in tournament play. Actually, Miner single-handedly could undermine the play of Elixir Collector. Elixir Collector is the most commonly card played right now, according to the balance updates that were announced today. Miner's a card that matches up very well with it. If they don't react to your Miner, Miner can kill an Elixir Collector before it gets one pump, which is a 3-for-5 trade against the most popular card in the game, right? Like that Miner could really change the environment as more people get a hold of him and start to play it a lot more in tournaments. Fire Spirits I really like as well. I already play a deck that has like Mini P.E.K.K.A. and Fire Spirits, and Mini P.E.K.K.A. plus Fire Spirits is a very hard push to counter for a very cheap amount of Elixir. I think, especially the nerf, the cost reduction to Furnace.
Yeah.
Is going to see a whole lot more Fire Spirits on the arena.
Super interesting. Super interesting. I agree with you. Let's go ahead and find our next winner. That's going to be Hi There 050. He says the nerf the Royal Giant. Sorry, that's not answering any of the questions actually.
Well, no, it is. He's the nerf to the Royal Giant would be his favorite balance change.
Oh, I thought he was just saying nerf the Royal Giant.
He might be. Yeah, it's the understood you nerf the Royal Giant.
Yeah.
No, I would say he's saying his favorite thing is the 4% Royal Giant.
You're right.
I wouldn't get too excited about that because 4% is effectively nothing. Like it's
not a lot.
very. I already did the math on it. A cannon kills a Royal Giant in the exact same number of shots and things like that. It doesn't allow the Royal Giant or the cannon to get like one. You know, it's pretty similar. I think you're going to see a very similar amount of Royal Giants after the update. What I think will be different is that counterplay will be a lot easier. You have a little more time to attack because it's, a little less damage. I think you're going to see actually the buffs to Tombstone and Tesla be really damaging to Royal Giant's dominance because both of those cards are defensive buildings that are good against Royal Giant. Pretty good.
Yeah. So
Sumo wins a tourney. All right, look at that. Scrazzer is saying that he's from the Sumo clan. Sumo is one of the larger, high-ranking clans in Clash Royale. If you go look at the top clan rankings, Sumo is always near the top.
Yep.
So if you remember,
Sumo and Elite Warriors battling it out. Maybe it's gonna be a clan rivalry.
Right. Yeah. So we had Elite Warriors last week. Manu Fan is a member of Elite Warriors, as is Clash with Ash, the top 8 finisher, and now Jason. Yeah, Jason. So actually, multiple top tournament finishers exist within Elite Warriors, but now Scrazzer comes representing Sumo. I know there's a lot of top ladder players in Sumo, so perhaps, yeah, you're right. We'll be seeing more Sumo and Elite Warrior players in future Super Magical Cups.
All right, guys, Super Magical Cup number 4 comes to a conclusion. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Big thank you to Rumham for coming out and casting and giving us a lot of excitement and insight into the game. Shout outs to Clash Royale Twitter for shouting us out, getting a lot of people interested in the tournament. And if you guys want to participate next week, make sure you follow our Twitter and check out the Clash Royale subreddit. The Clash Elite Nation.
It's Elite Nation, not Elite Warriors.
We're that right? I feel like we searched the. Oh yeah, we were searching the clan. Yeah, Elite Nation. Sorry about that.
It's Elite Nation. Whatever. You guys are all good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones.
Yeah. Wonder which one it is.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's hard to find because there's so many.
It's one with a lot of trophies. It's that one.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Is it?
I think so. Yeah, there's Jason right there.
Yeah.
Manu Fan. Yep. It's Elite Nation. You're right.
There it is. Elite Nation. Yep. Either way, yeah. If you guys want to take part in the next Super Magical Cup, ever since the Twitter shout out, we got thousands and thousands of people who wanted to participate, and we're really excited and we really want to accommodate everybody we can. Currently, we weren't expecting that, so our 128 bracket and our challenge was just overloaded. Apologies about that, but make sure you stay tuned on Twitter. Follow Super Magical Cup on Twitter to figure out news updates on when the next tournament signups will be. So Super Magical Cup number 5, Saturday, 12 p.m. PST. The Twitter will tell you when you can sign up for that and when you can get yourself into the spots that we have for the tournament. Make sure to follow the Clash Royale subreddit, and that's where we will announce more information about the tournament, and there might be a chance that we expand the size of the bracket too. So
I mean, with 5,000 requests, it's hard to only have 128 people. How do you pick?
Yeah,
you might have to have more.
Yeah. Well, hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure to follow Rumham on Twitch and Twitter. Is there anything else you want to add, Rumham?
No, I'm really excited for next week's tournament. I mean, I'm really excited that in the 2 Super Magical Cups that I've casted, we've seen not just very high quality Clash Royale play, but a clear separation of some of the top players in the game from the massive competitors. I'm really excited to see not just these top players get better week after week, but to see the field as a whole get better. I mean, it's hard to lose to a player like Scrazzer and not learn something about how to play better next time. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So all of those unfortunate souls that lost to our top 8 along the way, I expect them to come back even stronger next week and perhaps make the top 8 themselves.
Yep. All right, follow me on Twitter and Twitch. Rainiest Day for both. Super Magical Cup is coming to its conclusion. Make sure if you are a winner of the giveaway that you've received your Twitch message in your inbox. And if you don't find it in your inbox, make sure to check the others tab if it's there. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and that's it from us. See you guys.